What's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. Oh, my mic's blowing up, isn't it? 1 second. Oh, it's been a day. Let me tell you. Oh. Let me get this worked out for you. Sometimes when my mic does that, it goes jacks up for no reason. There we go. Check. Better. Welcome to Normal America Show, late night edition. Got a crazy night for you. You all that are here are hopefully going to help me work out some bugs that I'm trying to work with. What's up, Aftershock? Fitting that you would be here. One of my best friends on here and who's helped me with my show. So we're starting the 24-hour live stream of Comfy.Stream, which I'll put the link. I don't know. There's going to be... Oh. Oh, boy. That was a mistake. Yeah, I would assume you will be my first mod, so I'll put that Comfy.Stream. What is going on? Let me try to type. No. Wow, I'm having... You won't believe the problem I'm having when I'm trying to type. Transfine. This is great. As I'm trying to type here. What the heck? All right, let me try. Here we go. When I was trying to type, I typed the letter C. It'd bring up Craig. You guys remember Craig, my cousin Craig? Maybe he'll make an appearance tonight. And then when I typed T, it brought up the trans flag. Nice. Now I got it figured out. Comfy.Stream. I have no idea what will show up if you try to go there. Hopefully it'll let you make an account and you'll be able to watch me there tonight. That's the goal, to stream there some tonight. But I'm having some technical difficulties right now. So the problem I'm having right now, what's up, Cut Sleeve? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Probably you can't come on, but the only reason is I think I'm basically going to be streaming with Andrew. And I don't know what he'll be talking about necessarily. I'll only be on till like 2 a.m. I got a busy day tomorrow. I got a wedding. So I plan on maybe going to bed at 2 a.m., 2:30, waking up around 8, coming up and streaming a little. And then I got to get my day going with the Hankster. He's going to be a ring bearer, which means he has to dress up. Buh. So I'll let you know what's going on right now. So for those that don't stream, some of this might sound jargonistic. I assure you, I'm a boomer. I don't know any of these tech issues. You don't think it's actually cut sleeve? It doesn't matter. Yeah, Comfy keeps asking for a login. We'll see. Hopefully they work some of those bugs out. What toke zone am I on? I don't know. So what I'm doing right now is the stream key that I have. Let me look for that. Toke zone. I don't know. I go through a program called Restream. What time? I'm Eastern time. Eastern time. So I was gonna say toke zone. Maybe 20-year-old Rob. Near 40-year-old Rob's not on any toke zone. But no, I'm in the Eastern time zone. Yeah, 2 a.m. So what's going on is I have the URL. I have the stream key. It's letting me stream as if it says I'm streaming to Comfy right now. But when I could log into Comfy and see, it's not showing me my video. It says that I'm not live streaming on that end. So we're going to try to work out. That's part of why we're doing this tonight. And for those that don't know, Andrew, who's in the chat there from YouTube, this is BPF. He's my friend. He runs the Crucible. He's the one who's responsible for getting this technology created. He's been working for 9 months or longer behind the scenes, sort of getting this up. And I'm sure he'll tell you exactly why he did it. But I think one of the big reasons is that, he's sick and tired of, supporting these platforms that hate people like us. People like Jeff Bezos or the people that are running YouTube, that we constantly have to tiptoe and can't say what we think. We constantly, neither of us are violent people. Neither of us are racist. Neither of us, call for law breaking or anything like that. Both of us have debated people, and not just us, many other people that will be on this platform have debated people without calling for violence. We've been pretty cordial during our debates. We don't have beliefs, I don't think, that anyone would consider extreme. Well, that's not true. Biden would consider him extreme, but he's garbage. So, this is a platform. People like me talk all the time like, oh, Twitch sucks and YouTube sucks. But what do I really do about it? I'm still streaming. And Andrew took time and money despite having a family, despite having a full-time job, despite running the Crucible, and despite sort of being an active participant in debates and things like that, creating his own content, actually took time and money and created a channel. So I'm excited to be part of that. And I'm excited for all you to be part of it as well. So I'll ask you to bear with us tonight as the big reason for this 24-hour stream is, one, to introduce viewers to the platform, but also to kind of work out any bugs that we have with streamers being able to actually use the platform. That's right. I do have the right to do nothing. I'm great at doing nothing. If doing nothing was an Olympic sport, I'd be right up there. So we're going to get these bugs worked out. The tech people are looking at it. And, I think I'm a little early. I think the tech people are going to, here at midnight, they're going to be sort of expecting some bumps in the road, and hopefully they'll be able to help. The tech people have been great thus far. I know next to nothing about any of this technology, and they've walked me through step by step, holding my hand to get me as far as I've got. So we shall see what's going on. Until then, how's everyone's evening going? I hope good. One second. Pisco's still whining that I called him bad faith. Pisco is bad faith. If you're listening, Pisco, yes, you're still bad faith. Sorry. Nico Pluto, we can have a doing nothing. Yeah, that could be Z. It could be that you won't get banned. What's up, Pete the Patriot? Yes, an extremist, a dangerous semi-fascist extremist like myself, according to our noble President Joe Biden. Everyone was talking about the comparisons, what Biden looked like. I thought, for me, there was an obvious one. No, I was the only person that mentioned it. I'll see if I can find the picture. Put a tweet out. Maybe. Yeah, here we go. This is the tweet I put out. There's Biden. There he is, looking great, looking not like an insane person. And there's V for Vendetta. The fascist dictator in V for Vendetta. Let's see that again, shall we? I thought the black and the red, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh man, that reminds me of V for Vendetta. There's Biden. There's the dictator from V for Vendetta. Great. Biden doesn't have gloves on, so I guess, Yeah, it is a great movie, right? Great speech there by Biden. Great speech. As always, Mr. Dementia unifies us all. So I'll be a little distracted because I'm trying to read sort of what everyone's saying, the tech people, what they're trying to tell me. So I'll be trying to read that and simultaneously still streaming here. Now the plan is, if all goes as planned, once I get on Comfy to stream maybe a little with BPF with Andrew if he wants, and try to drag as many people tonight that are watching over there. I know that it's Friday night, so that's traditionally a night unless I'm doing a panel that not a lot of people are watching, and I started a little late. Craft Table Colt says, I installed an ad blocker. For some reason, all the hot singles in my area aren't interested in me anymore. That's because now they know you're not a risk taker. What kind of coward has an ad blocker? Pfft, if I was a hot single lady, I'd stop messaging you as well. Live a little, right? I tell my wife all the time, if we're driving and our car hits like, the red on the E, it's getting close to E. She's like, why don't you put gas in the car? I'm like, because I'm spicing it up. That's how you spice up your day. When you're, when you're 38-year-old married with a kid, you need any little bit of excitement you can get. So, making that grocery run on E, hoping that you don't stall out. That's excitement. I'm just trying to spice it up a little, Also, I had a bunch of stupid stuff to do today. So we did, the past 2 days, we've been kind of doing rehearsal and setting up for my brother-in-law's wedding that'll be tomorrow. And we're Hank's the ring bearer. So, my friends have a fantasy football league that me and my wife are in. We're terrible. I think last year I took second to last and my wife took last place. I don't really pay attention. Yeah, Pete, it is for extremists like you. It's Comfy.Stream. So tonight we're going to be working out the bugs on that. And Comfy's going to be doing a 24-hour live stream. But yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Now listen, I don't know if I'm breaking any news here. If Andrew's here, maybe he'll yell at me. I don't think he'll care. But it's not just anyone could stream there right now, to my knowledge. So it's not like you could create an account and start streaming. At the beginning, due to limited bandwidth and things like that, and just sort of getting it rolling, there's only a select few people, like 10 or 12, that are going to be streaming there. But I think they want to open it up to everyone inevitably. Well, Jesus, that's terrible. But there will be lefties on Comfy, at least one that I know of, that's going to be one of the original people streaming. And I know it's a left-winger that I kind of like, who's been kicked off, temporarily banned from places like Twitch. I will, Pete. I absolutely will. And I'll make sure that the owner knows that you've been streaming for a long time on YouTube. And you're someone who's experienced shadow banning, demonetization, and all that stuff. No, it's not Destiny. It's Sonsel. I don't care if I don't think I'm ruining anything. Let me see if the tech people got back to me. Not yet. So, ew, says Aftershocks. It's a unifying speech. I saw Destiny tweet. No, Trump was a great divider. I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that the Destinies of the world and stuff. Oh, I can't believe people are saying Biden's divisive. Well, see, unlike Trump, who never did anything to go after his political opponents, he just gnashed his teeth a lot and said the media is the enemy of the people, the Democrats are our opposition. I don't recall him saying 70 plus million people that voted against him were attacking our democracy and extremists. Don't recall that. Sonsel sucks. Sonsel's annoying. I'll come around. Damn, you guys are persuasive. Probably. There's got to be some lefties around. I'd say he's one of the more tolerable ones. I don't think that's saying much, considering his peer group. But there's a man to be proud of. Pete says, by the way, for those that don't know, PTP Podcast is my friend Pete the Patriot. Oh, I got some goodies to show you all. I was looking for something else, but I found this. This was a gift from my friend. He got me this picture of Admiral Akbar. looking like a boss. So, pretty cool. Somewhere around here, it's probably in my other room. Actually, Pete used to do contests on his YouTube channel, and he'd ask questions, and if you were the first one to type the answer in, you'd win a prize. I actually won a piece of fence from the DMZ in Korea because I was watching his show, and probably the only question he ever asked that I knew the answer really fast, it was, how many squares are there on a chessboard? I was like, I know that. 8 by 8. Still could do a little multiplication. So I typed it in, and I won that. He mailed it to me, so I'm still grateful to Pete to that. That's honestly, it's probably downstairs. That's a talking point. I show people that, but it used to be hanging behind me here. I'll get it back up here in the oven. It was a long time. It seems like forever ago, but yeah. So if you're just joining, it's going to be a weird stream tonight. We're getting Comfy.Stream running. It's a free speech platform that was created by my friend Andrew Wilson, or at least financed by him, and most of the legwork was done by him. It's a platform that they created. It's geared towards free speech. There's a lot of platforms out there like Cozy and other places, Odyssey or Rumble, places like that are free speech platforms, but there's different problems with all of them. Cozy, a bunch of 14-year-olds that are borderline white nationalists. Odyssey, I have a lot of problem with buffering anytime I try to stream there, and also you have to have like different stream keys every time you stream. Very difficult. Rumble, you have to have a paid subscription to stream live. So, Tampa Terry, assless chaps. Rob effing Nor. What's up, Tampa Terry? Are there chaps that aren't assless? Or are those just pants? I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen a pair of assed chaps. So anyways, tonight at midnight, just about starting now, is supposed to be the 24-hour live stream of Comfy.Stream. I think in Eastern time. So we'll see what BPF's doing. If he should be streaming soon. He might be experiencing similar technical issues to me right now. And so if that's the case, that's all right. I will not be doing 24 hours. The stream itself is supposed to be 24 hours. So there should be someone streaming on Comfy.Stream for 24 hours. I would have done 24 hours. I've done it before. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I have a wedding tomorrow. And so it's going to be a day where I'm busy almost all of the day. So my plan was to stream a little tonight before I go to bed. Maybe stream a little tomorrow in the morning, early afternoon before I head to the wedding. And then if I get back from the wedding at a reasonable time, can I post a link? Yeah, I don't know if you can get on Comfy yet. But yeah, I'll post a link. So it's not my usual show. If you're just tuning in for the first time, normally I'm on here destroying lefties, arguing politics, that sort of stuff. I think I said it would be redeployed to fix that live streaming panel. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can change that. Is it going to work? Oh, for crying out loud. So, bear with me tonight. Normally I'm not this disheveled. Well, I'm disheveled, but normally I'm not this unprepared. Let's see here. All right. Let's check that out. They'll just give me a little. Lefty Smasher, yeah, I try. Yeah, it keeps asking for a login. We'll get you there. Yeah, thank you. I love you guys too. As a friend, if my wife's watching, I didn't mean that. Nothing untoward going on. Don't worry. No danger of monkeypox coming our way. I'm in a committed marriage, and I'm very happy. It's easy, though. Like, you hear about all these marriages breaking up and stuff, and, adultery and stuff like that. The problem is, I pick the best wife. So I see the other people, like, yeah, it might be hard if you don't have the best wife. And she certainly got the best husband. So, it's easy. Where can I go from now? Don't get me wrong, there's problems, but everybody has little arguments and things like that. But knowing that I can't do any better because I got the best wife, what more is there to do, So, makes it easy. So, as we're waiting here, I was mentioning Pisco in his Discords. Well, now that, you learned a little more about, Hillary Clinton and her explanation for why her Reddit or her tech guy was going on Reddit the day after they agreed to hand over their emails and asking how to get her email address off there. Now that you've heard their explanation, do you concede that I'm not bad faith? No, I don't. When even your audience doesn't think you've done so well in that debate, Pisco. Yeah, your wife beats you. Yeah, I also happen to be married to someone who could probably beat me up if she wanted to. But I deploy psychological warfare. I don't have to use physical violence. I'm constantly, Yeah, my wife does talk mad shit all the time. She's in bed right now. She had a long day. Man, having a little guy being a ring bearer, like running around this Catholic church and stuff, it'll take it out of you. My wife's a saint. She was on it. I helped too, but nowhere near what she was running around. All right, let's see if I'm on yet. I don't think so. But I don't see Andrew on either, so I bet he's experiencing similar tech issues than me. What do I think about the Biden thing? Right, yeah, that's it, Jesus. Deleting subpoenaed documents while knowing about the importance of it is very high stake cases, no corruption at all. Pisco 2022. Yeah. Like I said, you have all these left-wingers that are out there today, like Biden's speech wasn't that bad and Trump was divisive. Let's concede that from the get-go. First off, what would they say about that if I said that to them? If Trump gives a speech tomorrow in front of a bunch of red lights and says, everyone that voted against me is a fascist and a threat to democracy. And I said, well, that's okay. Biden said it. What would Destiny and what would all of his friends and all the left-wingers, what would they say? Anyone could guess? If I said, well, Biden did that, what would they say? Anyone? What do they always say? They wouldn't just say, I can't say that. They would use a specific term. They'd say, that's whataboutism. That's whataboutism. Now, I'm sure Trump at points said Democrats are destroying the country. Democrats are traitors. He probably said something like that. I usually took that to mean he was talking about the politicians, is how I took it. And I had a few people link to me, and the links of what he was saying, he's clearly saying my opponents that are running, right? So he's talking about the politicians. He's clearly said the media was the enemy of the people. Yeah, Destiny's still around. He said the media is the enemy of the people. That's true, they are. But that's different. Attacking politicians and attacking members of the media is different than attacking millions of voters. And one of the things I thought Trump always did quite well was he didn't specifically go after the voters. I'm not going to say he never did, and I'm open for someone to posting what he did. But not like this. And it started with Obama clinging to their guns and Bibles, or Hillary, deplorables, or Biden, semi-fascist, extremist, attacking our democratic systems. Right? Millions of people, that's what he's talking about. Flanked by Marines holding guns. You know, a couple days after he said, your guns won't help you, we'll come at you with F-15s. The governor of New York just said Republicans should move out of New York. They're not real New Yorkers. Charlie Crist, who's running against DeSantis in Florida, said he doesn't want people that voted for DeSantis to vote for him because they're terrible people or extremists or whatever. All of this is happening. And another key difference is, right, unlike with Trump, Biden's team is actually locking people up. There are still people languishing in prison, being rejected their constitutional guarantee to a free or to a speedy and fair trial that weren't even accused of violence on January 6th. We have evidence again and again. It just came out the past couple days. Communications over and over from the White House, people in the administration talking to social media companies to censor people or to censor certain topics. We had the FBI weaponized to go after parents at school board meetings. And yet Trump's the extremist. We were told, I remember my friends were telling me that we're left wing in 2016. Well, if Trump gets elected, they're going to put all the gay people on trains and lock them up. Black people will be put in chains. That's what they said about Mitt Romney too. Remember that? It's weird. I didn't see any of that. Trump was the first Republican that flew the gay pride flag at the RNC. Black Americans, economically, were doing much better under Trump than they had previously. Trump passed prison reform bill that black leaders around the country wanted to get done under Obama but couldn't get done. Is there any example of Trump weaponizing his Department of Justice, his FBI, to go after opponents? I mean, the closest it came was when he correctly asked Ukraine to cooperate with an investigation into Joe Biden's quid pro quo, where he used $1 billion of your tax dollars to force the firing of a prosecutor that was looking into his son. That's the closest we came. But now with Trump, they're like, oh, come on. And here's the truth, and I've seen it. I've seen left-wing people I've interacted with that are liking these, liking little segments of Biden's speech where he's saying, how dangerous and against democracy. Well, they challenge the results of the election. You can't do that. Democrats would never do that. Oh, wait, except they always do. They always challenge the results of the election. But all these left, and that's what makes it dangerous, right? Biden's speech, what it was meant to do certain things. It was meant to show the left-wing militants, the ones you see that are using violence all the time, that are intimidating judges like Kavanaugh, that are attacking abortion pro-life centers and attacking Catholic churches and things like that after Roe v. Wade, that are shooting up Republicans on a ball field, that are firebombing RNC headquarters. It was to signal to them, it's okay. The people you're against are horrible, evil people. They're the enemy. It's okay. That was the first thing it was. And the second thing this was to do was to signify Trump will be indicted. He will be, as I've been predicting. They will indict him. That's what they're laying the groundwork for. I think even people that are Biden supporters that are remotely objective would say that the speech last night in the short term seems to have no utility. Like, what did this benefit? Who benefits from that speech? It might be red meat for the base that wants Trump supporters locked up. Okay. But independents that are like, well, I think Trump was extreme, are now looking like, well, Biden's even more extreme. So it doesn't help the Democrats in that way. But what it does is it lays the groundwork. That's what's going on. It's laying the groundwork. It's getting it out there in the narrative. This guy's going to be arrested. We're going to arrest him. And what they're hoping, and they've probably already set up, is that this will inspire violence with Trump supporters. That's what they're hoping. And we're in a very difficult position because the truth is there are extremists on all sides of the aisle. There are more on the left, obviously. And that's because they get away with it, because all the institutions at least pay lip service to the left. So, for example, if you're Antifa in Portland, you could commit crimes over and over and over and over again, and you're never arrested. And if you are arrested, you're promptly let out. If you're a right-winger and you do the same things, you're locked up and the keys thrown away, and you're looking at 10 years, even if you didn't commit violence. That's the game. We know it. It's obvious. Yeah, the feds, right. That's what occurs. And so it's hard because we are in a position, like, let me give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. Do you remember the January 6th protest? Not the day of January 6th, but like afterwards, there was going to be a protest in DC. You remember I debated Dylan Burns before this, and he said, I'm going to that protest. And I was like, wear a mask. Wait a minute. I thought that you weren't supposed to be in large crowds, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I got to go. It's important journalistically. And that was where the famous picture of all the obvious feds were there, right? They were all wearing the same sunglasses and the same uniform, pretending that they were like, January 6th protesters. And it was a joke. Hardly anyone showed up. And then people like me were like, good, that's what needs to happen. But then you step back and you're like, was that really a victory? The lesson we've learned is we can't go to a protest because we know that the feds will show up and try to incite violence, and then they'll use any excuse they can, even if we don't engage in violence as individuals. If someone does engage in violence there, we'll all be tainted with that, possibly arrested, possibly lose our jobs, be ostracized, etc. And so we know the victory for us is don't take the bait, don't even show up. The left doesn't have that problem. They could show up and break the law and show up outside Kavanaugh's home, and the Department of Justice is like, well, yeah, assassination attempt, huh? What? Those people are still good, right? So what happens is something like this, they keep setting the dominoes. Maybe they'll just weaponize people like they did with the Whitmer kidnapping, right? Where the FBI comes up with the plot themselves and then arrests the people at the end. Or you just set the dominoes. And eventually someone's going to get frustrated and push them over. People are getting fed up. You push and push and push and push. And again, maybe I'm sexist. I don't give a shit. Comfy.Stream. I don't think I'm sexist. But did you ever, I used to bartend. I've seen this many times. You be at the bar, maybe you've seen a situation like this. It doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a smaller guy. But someone less physically imposing going up against someone who's more physically opposing. Usually it's a woman. And she'll be arguing with the guy at the bar, and she'll be like, F you, blah, 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 blah. And she'll like slap him. And she's just in his face screaming, blah, 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 slap, slap, slap. And then finally, it'll like escalate to the point where something crazy happens. Like she'll take her beer and she'll throw it on him, or she'll spit in his face. And finally, the guy will be like, and shove her. And then as soon as he lays hands on her, even if it's just a shove because she's smacking him, or if he like pushes her out of the way, or he like grabs her and throws her out of the way, or if he slaps her, or if he punches her, whatever of those actions happen, inevitably, the very next thing that happens is the girl plays the victim. Oh my God. And then if it's a woman, right, a bunch of people will interject like the guy's the bad guy, be like, what did you do? You can't hit a woman, right? It's just the world we live in. I've seen it happen a dozen times, and it's not always just a woman and a man. It could be a smaller guy, starting shit, and then the bigger guy whacks him, and then everyone holds the big guy back, and the small guy's always getting cheap shots in too. That's the game. They use violence, they push, or you could see it like, all of these events where right-wingers will try to speak, on campus. You see this all the time. And you'll see left-wingers go like this, put their hands up and then like bump into people with their chest. Get out of my space. Get out of my space. They aggress on you to the point where you're like, okay, enough's enough. And you push back. And then once you push back, they're like, see, we knew you were violent. We knew it. See, we were right. You're violent. Now, you see, you want to talk about, wives that could out-argue their husband. There's my friend Rachel Wilson. That's Andrew's wife. And she's been on Tucker Carlson. And if you've ever heard her debate, I think she could more than hold her own versus Andrew. I'd be interested to be a fly on the wall in their house when they're like arguing about what to watch on TV or something. I would say she probably wins 80% of the time. On patrol, Crisco. I'm glad to have you here. No fishing stream tonight. We're working on getting Comfy.Stream up and running, and then we're going to stream there for a bit until I have to go to bed because I have a wedding tomorrow. Brother-in-law getting married, so, you know. It's a good occasion. Love me a wedding. But it's the first one. My son's 1.5 years, and he'll be the ring bearer. And it's all you can do to keep him focused on something. So it's like we're trying all day, like, just go down the aisle, just go down the aisle, go down the aisle. He made it like halfway. Then once he saw Grandpa, that was it. Then he beelined for Grandpa. I can't compete with my wife or my grandpa when it comes to, or his grandpa when it comes to her stepdad and her is just Hank. That's it. They're the tops. I'm second tier. I'm below my mom and Courtney's mom. Somewhere on me and my dad are down here, and then my mom and Courtney's mom, and Courtney's dad, and then Courtney and her stepdad. They're like top tier. So it's all I could do to. Somewhere in there, my Courtney's mom's goat is above me as well. He loves that goat. So, but look, I'll win. Don't worry. I'll come back. Trust me. Dad's become more fun once he's like 3 or 4 and he's getting into mischief. Then Dad. That's when I'll step in. That's when I'll be the big man. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on with me tomorrow. I would be streaming all day if I could, but that's what's going on. So the tech people, I'm being informed, are still working behind the scenes here. We're going to get, I'll be with you till at least 2 a.m. and then I'm going to have to get some sleep at some point. Yeah. Rachel says, tech team just finishing up some last minute details. Absolutely. And I do want to thank all of you for being here. So real quick, I know I've talked about this a couple times already, but it is kind of the point for the stream tonight. You could listen to my friend Andrew Wilson, also known as Big Papa Fascist. You might know him from a bunch of debates he's done. He also runs The Crucible. Him and Pedro run The Crucible, which I think bar none's the best debate platform online. Even left-wingers will admit, despite the fact that neither Andrew or Pedro are left-wing by any stretch. If anything, they're more right-wing than me. That they're the best moderators out there. I've not heard one person. I've even heard people like Vosh say, yep, BPF absolutely fair moderator, absolutely gives a fair shake to anyone that goes on the platform. So maybe that, if you know him, and just from interacting with me, been on my channel, he, for about 9 months, has been working behind the scenes to create a platform that is a free speech platform that is sort of prioritizing the streamers so they could say, people like me could say whatever I want. Also, once they sort of get the payment processor working, if you donate and things like that, a huge percentage of that will be coming to me, like over 90%. And then the rest of that money will be going back to Comfy itself. So money you send right now, if you subscribe to me on Twitch, 25% or more of your money is going to Jeff Bezos, a guy who's then putting money back into sort of culture that hates us. And even if you're a left-winger, you have to understand that you're only one wrong idea away from being ostracized yourself. That's just the way it is. You say one wrong thing on one issue, and all of a sudden, whoops, Twitch is banning you, even if you have 4,000 people a night watching you like Destiny. So I think that what Andrew did was he actually put his time, energy, and money into doing something to try to change that. And so I'm happy to be part of that. Not just because it personally benefits me, which it does, because I could actually wake up every day. I'll tell you a little story here in a second, but I could wake up knowing that my channel's not going to be canceled. And, I could come on here and I could say, Andrew's a piece of shit. I think he's scummy. I think he's a garbage grifter. I think his politics suck. And Andrew's not going to be like, oh, you're off my platform. It's not going to happen. I don't think any of those things about Andrew, but I could, and it would be irrelevant. And when other places have claimed to do something like this, then it's infiltrated with, a bunch of 14-year-olds that think it's edgy to just throw the N-word around every 3 seconds. And, all it does is ruins the platform because you're inundated with that sort of environment. So you're not going to be able to advocate for crimes or anything like that on Comfy. There's obviously limits. But other than that, if you want to come on and say Republicans suck, fine, say it. You want to come on and discuss I'm on Twitch right now, so I have to choose my words carefully. You want to come on and discuss athletic competitions and who should be allowed to compete in what divisions? Have at her on either side of the issue. So yeah, it's not live just yet. Rachel says Comfy's still locked right now. As soon as it's live, you'll be able to create an account and a login. It'll be super easy. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Andrew and the tech team behind it that was creating this website, they worked a lot with streamers, asking them sort of the functions that they liked on multiple platforms they were at. And they're trying to incorporate those functions. So for me, one of the things that's very important is I'm an idiot when it comes to technology. And so not only is they made the tech team available to me anytime I had questions, but it's 50 times easier than any platform that I've been on. I would put it basically the ease of use for me as a streamer, other than getting these bugs worked out right now. But it's basically like working with YouTube or Twitch. If you've tried to stream to somewhere like Odyssey, it's like pulling teeth. I mean, it's just not an intuitive interface. So it's expected anytime you're breaking a new technology that there's going to be bugs and stuff. That's one of the reasons that they're doing this 24-hour stream, to get all of that smoothed out so that the tech team could say, okay, here's every problem we ran into, so going forward we could solve this. And, I'm happy to be part of that, and I'm happy that you all are part of that as sort of the test audience. I hope that you will strongly consider, if you're on DLive, if you're watching me on Twitter, if you're watching me on YouTube, or if you're watching me on Twitch, to follow me over to Comfy as the main platform that I'll be on. Some of the content I do initially will be exclusive to Comfy, and inevitably it will all be exclusive to Comfy. Now I'm going to keep those other channels in the interim, but eventually they'll kick me off even if I don't leave them. And people that are on YouTube know that that's the case. I'm constantly getting 2 strikes for videos that I did years ago. People on Twitch know that I've been mass reported and botted over and over again by certain communities on Twitch, which is all I'll say at this point. And listen, if I can make a sales pitch, I understand as a user, not as a streamer, but as a user, it is very convenient to use YouTube, and it's very convenient to use Twitch. I still use them when I'm watching content. I use YouTube all the time. If I'm watching a debate in the Crucible, I'm watching it on YouTube. If I'm watching, my brother's stream, I'm watching it on Twitch. If I'm looking up old funny wrestling promos, I'm going to YouTube. And let's not get it twisted. Comfy's not going to have a library of videos like YouTube. It's geared towards sort of political and cultural streaming at this point. But it will grow, and there'll be more and more content on it. But I understand it's difficult to go to these new platforms, creating accounts for all these smaller platforms. Half of them fold. Half of them the technology sucks. Half of them no one's streaming on. But I implore you, please consider, when Comfy's up and running here, to set up an account. And if you're watching me, if you see I'm streaming on Twitch, go over to Comfy and stream. If you donate, I'll get more money from it. And the money that I'm not getting, the very small percentage, will go to Comfy and to the people that are running it that don't hate you for your political beliefs. And I think it's important that we start to support people that are actually trying to get these sort of platforms. Because no matter what, it doesn't matter how articulate I am, how persuasive I am. I could be the best debater in the world, which I'm close. But and I could argue in front of huge audiences that disagree with me and convince them of my position. I could do all of that. But it won't matter if, like that, they could shut me down. It won't matter. One of the reasons I've survived for as long as I have is because I'm not a big streamer. If I would start to pull in 1,000 people a night, then more eyeballs would be on me, and I'd get more mass reported, and they'd go through my stuff with more of a fine-tooth comb and find a reason to kick me. And I'll tell you a story. I'm someone that's like, I don't know if I'm bipolar or not. I might be. It runs in my family. But I find myself to be a very dichotomous person. Like, it depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm really let's take an issue outside of streaming. Sometimes I'm the type of person that's like, I need to clean the house. And like for 4 days, I'll be a madman. I'll be like, I got to do this room. I got to do this room. Be doing house projects, And then the next week, it's like, my wife would be like, dude, could you throw the clothes in the hamper? And I'll be like, I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. I'm just going to sit here and watch TV. Like, I'm that type of person. I did. I was the first person to interview Rachel after she was on Tucker Carlson. It was an excellent video. I hope it's still up. I had to delete most of my videos on YouTube, so it should be on Odyssey if nowhere else. But that's the type of person I am. And so there are things that I know I could do to grow my channel. One of the things about me is the content that I like doing the most is just live streaming. And I'm terrible at everything surrounding live stream. I'm good at turn the camera on and talk. I'm good at debating. I'm good at filling content. I could talk for hours on all sorts of subjects. I could do that. I think I'm entertaining. I'm articulate. That's all good. But everything else I suck at. I suck at the technology. I suck at editing. I suck at promoting myself. I suck at having connections to people so that I can get my voice out to a larger audience. Terrible at all of that. Right? Just bad. Don't edit well. You know, all of that's true. You know, and despite what I may think, that's important in growing an audience. One of the things that I need to focus on that's not really my forte is making small videos. 2 to 5 minutes. Because a lot of people don't want to sit down and watch what I have to say about Joe Biden's speech for 2.5 hours. They want to hear what Rob has to say for 2 minutes. And then that's it. And that's not really I'm long-winded, as you may have noticed anyways, but it's not really my forte to do those little videos and then make thumbnails and edit them. And most of the small videos I do are one take. In fact, I've showed people I do it. It's just one take, and that's it. That's what you get. But like around 2.5, 3 months ago, I decided I'm going to put up one short form video a day on YouTube, at least one. And then I'm going to go back to writing for John Burke's channel, which I'd been doing in the past. So I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 1.5 hours to 2 hours of work a day, doing these short form videos, doing the writing for the website that I was writing for. And then I'll do my 2-hour live stream. So 3-4 hours a day of content. Or work for my content was what I was doing. And so I did it for like a week and a half. I was putting videos up every week, doing the thumbnails, doing the editing, whatever. And I was like, I just feel good about myself. Like, good. It's just something you got to keep at. Do it till you love it. That's sort of my motto. Like, that's how I'm trying to do this exercise shit now. It's like, I hate it. I hate working out. I do. Which I've been doing okay. Today I did not do good, but this is the first day in 2 weeks I haven't done good. I was very good. My diet has been under 1,400 calories a day, and I've been doing 1 hour to 1.5 hours every day of exercises. DDP yoga, push-ups, sit-ups, exercise bike, that sort of stuff. Today was the only day I've failed so far, and I'll probably fail Sunday, which is family reunion. But other than that, so it's okay to have a fail day once in a while, I think. But I'm just doing it until I learn to like it. That's my idea. So I was doing good, and then all of a sudden I wake up one day at work. I'm at work, and I do home health care. So when I'm there, I'm kind of hamstrung. I can't do a lot because I'm working 24/7. And all of a sudden my phone starts beeping like my email. It's beeping like I'm getting incoming emails. I'm getting a bunch of them. It's like 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh, that's odd. And so we did some work stuff, and I came back, and I checked my email, and it was like 9 emails from YouTube in the span of 4 minutes. And it kept saying, your video's been removed. Your video's been removed. Your video's been removed. And then it said, you got a community strike for this video. You got a community strike for this video. So I got 2 of them. And I was like, what? And so I looked, and they were all videos that I'd done from 18 months or earlier. The one video that got me a strike was, if you all remember, right before my son was born. So in December of 2020, me and my wife both got COVID, and my wife was 9 months pregnant. You remember Dylan Burns, producer, Mr. Geck, made fun of me and my wife for getting COVID. You remember. So I thought that I would stream every day while I had COVID and let people know how I felt. Apparently that violated the misinformation policy of YouTube. And so what that does is, and this was right after I also had my Discord channel mass reported, and I had to remove my Discord channel. And both of them, they don't tell you what you said, right? They're not like, this is specifically what you said, and you can't say that, so don't say it again. That's not what they do. Instead, they're like, 19 months ago, your video, here's a 2-hour video you did, and it's inappropriate. We're not going to tell you why it's inappropriate. We'll just say that something about it was against our misinformation policy and on COVID, and so that's it, And so you have no choice but to, I had to put the entire channel to private and delete basically every live stream I'd done since 2020. Because if you get 3 strikes within a 90-day period, your channel's gone forever. So I had 2 strikes then, so I had to immediately go back to my computer, set everything to private, because I was getting mass reported because I debated some lefties. And they mass reported me, and that's what happened. And this wasn't like videos I'd done a month or 2 prior. This is 18 months ago and before then. So what can you do? You know? And what pissed me off the most about that was I had just been for 2 weeks or a week and a half really committed myself to like, okay, I'm going to put a video, I'm going to work hard at this. And what it was a reminder. It's like, why work hard at this with all the stuff you could do in life? You know, why put work into something that like that could be taken away? And not through fault of my own. It's not like, well, it was taken away through my own negligence or taken away through my own bad act. No, just because I debated a lefty and they didn't like it, so they mass reported me, and YouTube was like, sure, that's it. So why am I putting 2 hours a day into that? I'll still live stream because I like it, but why put something that I feel is like work into it? And it was on that, I kid you not, this is how serendipitous it was. So about an hour and a half after that, I'm pissed, but I'm not like super pissed because it's not like, you know, some people, they stream for their livelihood. I don't. I have a full-time job. So it's like, if I lose all of my channels, then fine, I lose my channels. And I'll be on some platform that 1 or 2 people will be watching me, like D-Live. This is before Comfy.Stream. And that'll be that. I'll talk to people at the bar. You know? Almost there, they're saying the tech people. You know? I'll still talk about stuff. I'll still go to Republican meetings and stuff like that. But whatever. About an hour and a half, so I'm kind of pissed though. I'm like, this sucks. Hour and a half later, I get a Twitter private message from BPF, from Andrew. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I basically just lost my YouTube channel. And this is 2 weeks after I lost my Discord channel. Tired of this shit, blah, blah, blah. And he's just kind of like, dude, here's my personal number. Call me. And I thought he was just going to be like, yeah, it sucks. You know, I've had that shit happen. And I think he did say something like, I got an opportunity for you. So I give him a call. And that's when he told me, he was like, dude, it's so weird that this just happened to you today because literally we're going to go live. I've been basically biting my lip for 7 months that he knew that he was creating this platform, but he didn't tell anyone. And he was like, how would you like to be one of the people that starts out on this? And I was like, that's great. So, I mean, from the get-go, you could see my excitement for wanting a place like Comfy.Stream, which should be up and running here soon. We're going to be doing a 24-hour live stream. I won't be doing 24 hours, but someone will be on Comfy the entire time once it gets rolling here for 24 hours. But it was just serendipitous that the very day that I'm just like, you see, any moment they could just... And by the way, Twitch will do it to me too. I've been very lucky on Twitch. But eventually it'll happen. I'll run afoul of Keffels. That's what'll happen. And Keffel's brigade will, you know, do whatever they do, and then I'll get banned from Twitch because Keffel said so. She runs Twitch politics, so that's what it is. Am I from America? Yeah, I am from America. And so that's was kind of my start into this. Now, everyone's got a different reason, you know. Andrew has his own reasons for why he did this. I'll leave him talk about that. You know, and there's different things, you know. You know, it's called Comfy.Stream. It's kind of the thumb its nose at Cozy.tv, which is America First, the Nick Fuentes crew, and the Groypers. And, you know, Andrew's been going back and forth with them for a while. I've had a little interactions with the Groypers. I don't like them. I think they're childish. I think that they're detrimental to a serious political movement. I don't wish ill on them. I don't really care about them. I sort of don't think about them ever. But I'm aware when I get uncomfy because they don't like Andrew that they'll be brigading me. And so, you know, I'll set some mods and we'll kick out the people that just want to yell the N-word because that's part of what the game will be. It'll be, oh, we'll come on and say heinous shit and then we'll hope that, you know, this gets the channel shut down. But they can't shut it down because the channel is owned by BPF. Yeah, Pete, maybe I'm just a fan and don't live here. Let's see if I have any water left. I don't think I do. No. All right. I'm going to go fill up my water bottle. I'll be right back. So. What's up, Sparky? How's it going, man? We're just working out some bugs here. And then hopefully I'll be on Comfy.Stream. Now, when the bugs are worked out, there is a chance that I'll have to restart this stream. Now, that won't affect you if you're on DLive or Twitch. But on YouTube, you may have to... Because the way it works is when you stop the stream on YouTube, it starts a new video. So you might have to go to a new video. But I'll let you know if that's going to happen. So, tech people are still working. Say they think they're almost there. Yeah, we'll get there. So, yeah, I mean, the Biden video, I talked about it a little here earlier, but it is what we always knew. They accuse you of what they themselves are. And we talked about the word fascist, you know. What does that word mean? And everybody has a different definition of it, but you constantly see the left doing it. And there's power in language. If you can control what someone says, you control what they think. And controlling definitions of words is a way to sort of shape a cultural narrative. It's one of the arguments that's persuasive, even though I disagree with it, that people use against gay marriage. And that is, you know, well, the definition of marriage means something very specific. And by changing what that means, it sort of has an impact culturally, which is probably true. But I feel the more persuasive argument for me is if the government's going to be involved in the institution of marriage, they do not have the right to discriminate based on people's sexual orientation. But we could go back and forth on that debate. I know that's one of the least popular positions that I have with my audience, but it's me. And all I could be is myself and authentic. That's it. What good would I be to any of you if I wasn't giving you my honest opinion? I'm smart enough to know what most of the people... I could have been a QAnon person. I could have came on here and told you, trust the plan. Bill Barr is going to lock them all up. And I'd had 10 times more viewers. But it's not what I believe. So that's one of the reasons I love my audience. I feel that I've filtered out many of the people in my audience that just, would leave if they disagree with me on one position. I think almost everyone in my audience now would say, yeah, there are positions I disagree with Rob on, but that's okay. Oh no, there's people in the chat Aftershock that won't like that position. Right, Aircraft Sparky would say, same benefits, but don't call it marriage, call it a civil union. And yes, I am up past my bedtime. My wife gave me permission tonight because Comfy going live here. So we're working out the bugs. Let me just make sure that BPF's not live here now. And if I have to stay up a little later, then I would. So here's the thing, right? It's not just that I stay up late streaming. I've been very good at getting to bed by midnight lately, right? And see if any of you have this problem as well. Let's say I stop streaming at midnight, and then I go down... I get a drink, let the dogs out, come back in at 10 after 12. It's not like I fall asleep in the next 2 minutes. Like, my brain's running. It's 1 o'clock. It's 1:30. Finally, around 2, I'm getting to sleep, So if I stay up streaming till like 3, I'm probably getting to bed at like 4. And then I'm getting up at like 7. So that became a little... But tomorrow we could do it. It won't be a big deal. Oh, yeah, I knew all about Bill Barr Vita. I tried to tell the QAnon people. I told them, trust the plan. When Bill Barr recommended that Comey not be indicted after the IG recommended charges, that's all you needed to know. That's all you needed to know. Bill Barr was just someone that was there. He's a career FBI man. He was someone that was there to make Trump think that he was on his side, but to keep Trump from actually doing anything about the corruption. That's it. And that's still Bill Barr's role. He's now no longer in the role of making Trump believe him, but he's still there to make sure that nothing's done about the FBI corruption. That's it. And all the moron Trump supporting QAnon people were like, trust the plan. Bill Barr's a white hat. You can go back and watch my videos. I was doing live stream after live stream fighting with QAnon people online on my channel. Like, what are you talking about? Take it easy, Pete. I'll let you know, man. Yeah, absolutely. The weight loss is going good, except today, Sparky. This is the first day that I failed. So that first week that we started, I honestly didn't do much. But I've been doing at least an hour and a half of working out every day. And I've been eating very good. Today, I was just busy from morning till night. And I ate garbage fast food because we were supposed to be fed at this one event we were at. We weren't. And by the time we're getting back, it's like 9 o'clock at night. And my wife's hungry. And I was like, fuck it. Let's just go through McDonald's. So I had 2 double cheeseburgers and French fries. Yeah, but other than that, I'm doing okay. I'm not losing a lot, though. I've lost like 5 pounds. But that's okay. I don't give a shit. I figure I'll lose like 40 the last week and then crush you, and that'll be that. Yeah, but Sunday's going to be my cheat day, too, because it's a family reunion. And but that's okay. 2 double cheeseburgers. I like pickles and onions on mine, but yeah, I'm happy with it. I feel better, too. My blood sugar's been really good, which was a concern of mine. So, still working, I think, here. Working the tech stuff out. So, 2 weeks of fasting. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right decision for me. Yeah, BPF is working on Comfy right now? Let me check it out. Well, maybe it's me. Because when I click it, it says the media could not be loaded either because the server network failed or because the format's not supported. That's the Crucible. Yeah, I don't see his channel, Rachel. I see it says live now, the Crucible, but when I click it, nothing's working. Or do you mean working as in he's working on it? Is probably what you mean. Yeah, they'll get it. BPF has tech people behind him. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what you meant, Rachel. He has tech people behind him, but even then, BPF knows 100 times more about the tech than I do. Like, when he'd be excited talking to me on the phone about it, I don't have the heart to tell him, like, yeah, half this sounds like gibberish to me. But you're excited, and I'm sure it's going to be great. So, BPF's Han Solo. Would that make me Lando? I think Pedro would have to be Lando. I'd be like, let's see, if I'm a Star Wars character, I'm not. Well, maybe Pedro's Chewie. Though that might be considered racist, saying the black guy's a Wookiee. I don't know. I didn't mean it that way. Of course, then I said that he was either that or the other black guy in Star Wars. Not looking too good for the Robster here. I think Lando was the best character in Star Wars, is my opinion. Billy D. Williams is fantastic. He used to do those Colt 45 commercials. It was the best commercials ever. Yeah, Rachel says the same for her. Yeah, you know. Did you ever see? Let me see if I can find one of these Colt 45 commercials. This is like the best. And I know before anyone says anything, Billy D. Williams has came out as sort of a crazy lefty, whatever. If you've never seen these commercials, they're top notch. Give me a second. You like Boba Fett was your favorite? All right, give me a second here. We'll play a Billy D. Williams Colt 45 commercial for you. There's several. Oh my God, these are so good.
It's 45. It's 45. It's 45. Every time. Oh, 45.
That wasn't even the one I was thinking of, but that's a good one. Works every time. There we go. This is another good.
Billy D. Williams talks about the power of Colt 45.
You know, I've always heard about the power of Colt 45.
but I was never sure exactly what that meant. So I got some, found out for myself.
Hey, Billy. You free tonight?
Works every time. The power of Colt 45. It works every time.
I mean, look, I'm not the most gullible person in the world. I push back against bullshit all the time. But I got to admit, I feel like a Colt 45 right now. Oh, man. He just, Billy D. I mean, that guy just oozes cool. So if I had to be a Star Wars character, that's who I would pick. Or maybe someone from the new crappy movies that I never watched. Heard the new Lord of the Rings is a mess, I've heard. Who would have thought? Oh well. At least it's a diverse cast. Who cares if it's good, right? Colt 45. Lando was cool. He helped, like he could, He kind of sold him out to Darth Vader, but he helped him escape. The little promo they did for the new. I know it's not the opening to the show. Let me start by saying that. All right, but they did a little promo for like Entertainment Tonight. Let me see if I can show you this. And it's just the best. The guy at the end, it's one of the most cringe things I've ever seen. It's just fantastic. Here we go. This is this is good. I didn't know what to expect from the stream tonight. I didn't know we would end up here, but watch this. This is great. This isn't even the best. This guy at the end is the best. Oh, man. Shit, would they have $1 billion budget? They could have hired me. I could have done that acting job. I'm pretty short too. Just grew my beard out. They wouldn't even have to do much makeup on me. I could have been a dwarf. What's up, Jeff? We're just talking about me acting in the new Lord of the Rings show. I won't even be that expensive. 100,000. 100,000. You can find an actor for cheaper than that. Oh, awesome, man. Jeff, the family reunion Sunday. You should come. Bunch of free food. All the ham special light you could handle, I'm sure. The boozing hayride's always the high point. All right, checking this out. See if we're running yet. Does not look like it. Not yet. Okay. So, if you're just joining me, tonight we are working. Yeah, I'm sure the mother-in-law will be up. She's always up for it. We are getting Andrew Wilson has created a new streaming service, Comfy.Stream. It'll be a free speech platform where I'll be doing the majority of my streaming. You'll still be able to find me in the short term on all the platforms you're watching me now. But I hope that you'll join me over there. And inevitably, that's probably the only platform I'll be on. One, because that's what I'll choose to do. But second, I'll inevitably get kicked off YouTube and Twitch and what have anyway. So, account number. Yeah, on D-Live. I still got 1 or 2 people watching on D-Live. Thank you. Yeah, consider joining me over there. D-Live showed promise. Is the Cobb playing? On the Cobb's playing? Yeah, I heard. You guys ever heard the band On the Cobb? Fantastic. I'm not woke enough to be in the film. I could talk woke if I need to. Maybe I'm not woke enough, but trans positive Rob, he'd fit right in. I do a lot of shady shit for things right after text. That's what I tell my left-wing friends. I'm like, one of my favorite comedians is this guy Doug Stanhope. Now, let me start off by saying this. When I talk about favorite comedians, I am keenly aware that almost all of my favorite comedians have horrible shit political takes. Get it. I know that they wouldn't like my politics. Fine. I don't care. I know that they're probably horrible people. That's okay. I find them funny, then I find them funny. So one of my favorite comedians is Doug Stanhope, and he had this, one of my favorite stand-up routines ever. It's called No Refunds. And Doug Stanhope comes out and he's wearing the libertarian shirt. And he was like going to run for president as a libertarian. And I'm not a full-fledged libertarian, but I lean that way. And, he's talking about corruption and sort of all these institutions that are corrupt and stuff. And he's like, now, having said that, if they called me up and offered to give me a huge amount of money to sell out, I'd put my best suit on and I'd show up the next day. That's how I feel. I'm like, sure, I'll sell out. It's just got. See, I'm not like the rest of these losers you see, that sell out for nothing. What do they sell out for? A couple clicks on Twitch? It's going to take at least 6 figures. But yeah, I'll do it. I'll sell out. I'll put my best suit on. I tell my left-wing friends all the time, I'm like, why, the Democratic Party ought to hire me. You remember the commercial? Let's see if I can find this. Remember the commercial where they had like Lady Gaga? It was like, she's gonna speak to the Republican crowd. She's gonna speak to rural America. Let's see if I can find this. It's hilarious. This is going to be a video explaining it, which I don't really want to see. The View. Oh, gosh. Well, I'm about to give The View some clicks. Great. Here's, if you could stomach it, here's The View. Right, do you remember this ad? This is Lady Gaga. I can't, it's some politics. Right? This is like the elite left-wing view of how to talk to people in rural America. You ready? Ugh.
For the occasion, take a look.
Hey, this is Lady Gaga.
What's up?
I'm voting for America, which means I'm voting for Joe Biden. And if you live in Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Florida, or Arizona, I encourage you to vote. And if you have a friend that lives there, tell them to vote.
Wow. Yeah,
Cheers to the 2020 election.
First off, if she was really from here and like blue collar, she wouldn't have wasted that beer. I like the racing boots, standing next to the truck though. Very, very nice. Yeah, The View. That should be my new channel. Just reacting to The View every day. I'd have 1 million views. Hey guys, I know what it's like to have a big truck and drink the beers. How are you? I'm voting for Joe Biden. If you like the beers, you should vote for Joe Biden too. 4-wheelers and trucks, am I right? It's like, holy shit. It's, they're paying a team making that shit hundreds of thousands of dollars. They could have called me up and offered me $100,000 and I'd be like, yeah, I can get you an ad for Joe Biden in rural America. You don't have to embarrass yourself. Yeah. First off, Jeff, she's not from here. She had all of her teeth. What the fuck? Come on now. A little too much dental work to be from my neck of the woods. See, I brush every day and not bad, but Dr. Oz level. I don't even think Oz is that bad. Crudité. Didn't say yins, yeah. You guys voting this weekend? We're down to the creek. We're down to the creek and get some voting done, right? Be careful, it's a little slippy out there. Ah, man. It'd be like hiring me and being like, Rob, we're trying to reach urbanites, socialite people living on the cusp of, modern society. Can you do an ad for them? And it would just be like me, wearing an infinity scarf, like, hi. As I'm eating my caviar and drinking my champagne, eating my avocado toast, I'm considering voting for Donald Trump. People be like, what the fuck is this? This is a caricature on someone who's never, has any clue of what's going on. Crudité. I might talk about crudité. There's a way to talk to people. Why didn't they send Billy D. Williams drinking Colt 45? Maybe I could have been persuaded to vote for Biden if Billy D. Williams would have been like, hey, man, see these hot chicks? Because I'm drinking Colt 45 and voting for Joe Biden. I'd be like, persuasive. Am I having BPF on or not? I don't know. It would be more like BPF having me on. It's the launch of his channel. I thought I was going to stream with them, but they're working out the bugs. So I'll be on here till 2 or perhaps a little later. And if they don't have the bugs worked out by then I'll check in again tomorrow morning and be trying to stream to Comfy. But he's working behind the scenes as we speak. To try to get the bugs worked out. But other reasons that I'll like Comfy.Stream. Do I have any Grey Poupon? Yeah, that'd be like Wayne and Garth. My favorite mustard as of late. I'm a mustard connoisseur. I like this spicy Dijon mustard I've been buying. I don't know the brand, but it's good. Or it's like it's Dijon honey mustard is what it is. That's yeah. It's good stuff. Like me some mustard. Yeah, you should be pissed. You should be pissed, Jeff. Suckers like you that just went to work. You get to pay for drunks like me that use my student refund to drink all the time. Cool. Scott Adams says, I watched Biden's speech just to find out what all the furor was about, but I did not see anything bulging from his veins, so stop your worrying. It's funny. Sweet Baby Ray's, yeah, a decent sauce. So here's I never asked, so if you don't know, I'm in a weight loss competition with Aircraft Sparky. He'll probably win, but listen, even if he wins, I'll win, right? The stakes are if he wins. By the way, our friend River's joining too. River, it's not something that I've ever paid attention to, but River might be in a disadvantage because I think she's like a healthy weight, unlike me. Me and Sparky are bigger. And River seems like someone of a healthy weight. So it might be harder to lose weight if you're starting from less weight. But I digress. I think she's going to join as well. The losers have to go in the winner's stream for half an hour and praise them. But that's okay. Even if I have to do that, I'll just be sarcastic about it. Be like, oh no, Sparky, you're the best. You are just the best. So that'll be fine. But I'll win in the long run. Don't worry. But Sparky, he already has unfair advantages. For example, I may or may not suspect that Sparky is colluding with my wife to have her offer to cook me delicious, fattening food every day. Try that for testing your willpower. You know? Boom, 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 boom. Hey, did y'all see the news the other day that, I forget who it was, The Guardian or something broke the story that in June, I think it was, that Russia and Ukraine had basically came to a peace deal, but then Boris Johnson stepped in to make sure it didn't happen. You know, like when I was debating Dylan Burns on this and said that that's what was going on, that actually there probably would have been a peace deal brokered earlier if the West wasn't encouraging this war to continue, so there could be a money laundering scheme to send billions of your dollars to them to continue to pay their crony friends in the defense industry. Remember that? That's interesting. Oh, well, at least there's drinking water in Jackson, Mississippi. Oh, wait, never mind. No, sorry. Sorry, you guys can't drink water in Jackson. But that's okay. What else we got to look at? So much of the, I mean, this Biden speech, it was so. V for Vendetta-esque. Yeah. Good stuff. I'm glad that they're doing it now, though. They're just coming right out and saying it. Maybe it'll wake people up. I don't know how much people need to see before it's obvious that it's getting more and more extreme. Thank you, Patty Factor. Appreciate the follow. Really do. Yeah. How's the trying to get on Timcast thing going? Not very good. I don't have any connections. I tweeted at Sour Patch Lids, sent private messages to Tim. I don't know what else to do. I guess I could drive to his neighborhood and hang out at the local grocery store and hope I bump into him. But other than that, I don't know. Any new content going forward? Well, once I'm on Comfy.Stream, I'd like to be uploading short form videos there, 4 or 5 times a week in addition to doing my normal live streaming. Unfortunately, I screwed over someone yesterday. I feel really bad. So this youngster reached out to me and said they're in high school and they wanted to know if I'd be willing to talk to them and debate them on systemic racism and climate change for an hour. I said, sure. So 2 weeks ago, we set it up for Thursday. I forgot that I had this rehearsal dinner and stuff on Thursday, and so I had to reschedule. So that might be Monday. If I get some time off work, I might be debating that person. Then I had someone reach out to me and say that they're a PhD, I believe, in climate science, and they wanted to debate me on climate change, and that'll be next Friday. And as you know, I love debating people on their area of expertise, so it'll be fun. And they said they're not looking for a blood sports debate. They're looking for a conversation, but they would love to talk to me about climate change and something that was in the new Inflation Reduction Act bill. I said, sure. Let's do it. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, systemic racism and climate change. I mean, these are topics that I've covered a lot. I don't consider myself an expert on a lot of them. Destiny ban listed I Hypocrite from appearing on modern day debate. I don't know I Hypocrite, but Joe liked my debate with Destiny the other day. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Pisco while Destiny was moderating and I was basically debating them both. Did you guys enjoy that? I did. That's the closest I get to being able to debate Destiny most of the time because he doesn't want to debate me. You know, they're not sending their best anymore. Pisco. Poor guy's upset that I still say he's bad faith, because he is bad faith. This is what he says. During our debate, this is Pisco. During our debate, and by the way, this is public. This is not, I would not read someone's private Discord message to me, but this is on his public Discord server. So he says, during our debate, I give you an explanation for the Stone Tier Reddit post. The Hillary's new email was not available. The only one that was available had been leaked. That and the fact that she changed her email in response to the leak. That Republicans were confused as to why there were 2 emails in March 2015, the date she sent the preservation order. And I said it made complete and total sense that after Clinton's email had been hacked, the Clinton camp would want to prevent it from happening again. A lot of these things were facts which you didn't have. You've been ranting and raving about this thing for years and you didn't know key facts. You didn't bother to Google Clinton's explanation for what happened and look into it. And you call me bad faith for believing that to be the reason. You kept pinging me about it on Twitter. You kept messaging people on this Discord about it. During your streams, after explaining the situation, you didn't comprehend. You laughed and called me a hack for saying what I said. How has your view changed, if at all, from what has been revealed to you? I said, you are still a hack. You got crushed in the debate and showed over and over how you will accept any corruption and BS to defend your side. And the explanation for the Reddit post is still garbage. But thank you for asking. And he responds, explanation still garbage, he says. Explain, without saying, but that would still be bad, because that's just admitting that it was the rationale. It's so sad and pathetic you didn't know about multiple emails, and you didn't even bother to look into Hillary's rationale. I'll answer this in a second. And you've been ranting and raving about this for years, LOL, imagine. Also, by the way, just so you're aware, Bill Barr's rationale for why Trump didn't commit obstruction relies significantly on the definition of corrupt and corrupt intent. He goes so far as to say if Trump had done something to save personal embarrassment, it probably wouldn't have been covered by the statutes. Right. The idea that I didn't know that Hillary had multiple emails is false. The only thing I didn't know up until about a day before I debated Pisco was that specifically the allegation was that when you change an email address in Outlook, in your archives, it will basically change your old email address to your new email address. But I was aware that Hillary Clinton's old email address was hacked. I was aware that Guccifer released that in 2013. I was aware that she said publicly that she was changing her email address as response to that. I was aware of all of that. Nothing Pisco said changed that. The only thing I wasn't aware of was their specific explanation that when you change your email address on Outlook, it goes back retroactively and changes your archives to have the new email address. None of that explains their definition, which their definition is it was okay for them to go in, to ask about going in the day after they agreed to hand over these emails, and to change the email address by removing it. And the rationale for that is they didn't want the investigators that were Republicans to see her email address because they could leak it. That's stupid for a litany of reasons. First is the Republicans had subpoena power, and if they really wanted her new email address, they could easily have gotten it. Secondly, the idea that you have the right to try to keep information from actual investigators is nonsense. Imagine if Trump would have did that. Imagine, what do you think Pisco will say if Trump does that now? Hey, we deleted a bunch of this stuff that we had. So a bunch of these documents that they asked back in the National Records Archive, we blacked out a bunch of stuff because we thought that they would leak it to the press. So we blacked a bunch of it out. We thought the FBI would leak it. You think Pisco would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's why they did it. Pisco would be saying, even if they did that, that's a crime. And that's probably not what happened. They probably did that because they were hiding stuff that they blacked out there. That's what he would say. And it's not just that Pisco had just said this one thing. I might say, okay, you're just stupid. But that doesn't necessarily make you bad faith. It is the preponderance of evidence of Pisco's positions on everything involving the investigation by the FBI into Hillary Clinton versus the FBI investigation into Donald Trump. And how every single time he has an excuse for the double standard, including things like falsifying a FISA warrant to spy on the President of the United States. Always has an excuse. Every time. When it's the Trump people, go after them as hard as possible. It was okay for the FBI to do everything they did, even if it was lying on FISA warrants and fudging FISA warrants. That doesn't prove it was corrupt, he says. Versus if it's Hillary Clinton, give everyone immunity, let them get away with obvious crimes, buy obvious bullshit explanations like I had an oh shit moment and forgot that I wasn't supposed to delete subpoenaed shit. That's why he's bad faith. Hey, Dylan's in here. I hope you're safe, man. I saw that it looked like you were in some conflict area there in Ukraine. What do you think about the reporting that there was a peace deal that was being discussed and Boris Johnson stepped in to assure that didn't happen? By the way, I did see Dylan was liking some of the clips from Biden's speech calling everyone who votes for MAGA people extremist. Just so you know where people stand. The truth is, a lot of people, I'm not saying Dylan, but a lot of people would easily be talked into that you should be locked up if you voted for the person they didn't like. And they wouldn't protest too heavily if someone like me got locked up. Pisco won't apologize for Russia. Why would they? They bought that shit hook, line, and sinker. It doesn't matter if it'd be favorable to the Ukraine. Stopping the war would be worth it in its own right. You thought the speech was fine. Okay. That's fine. It's okay, though. I'm actually happy to have Dylan and people like that say that. I'm okay with the President of the United States going on and saying, if you voted against him, you're an extremist. If you voted for the other guy and support the other guy, you're an extremist. I'm fine with that. I think that those chips should be laid on the table. And that's a good thing. And turnabout will happen. It'll happen. And the FBI will be weaponized against people like Dylan. Instead of parents that are upset at home school board meetings, it'll be weaponized against people like Dylan. And you'll know what they thought when someone like Dylan thought when the premier law enforcement agency and the president, the chief executive of them, was calling you a domestic terrorist because you voted against them. You'll know when that happens to someone like Dylan where he stood when it was you. So I'm glad to have that honest admission. I wouldn't feel that way. I would still be upset if that was the case. I would. But we'll see, Dylan. CCP Bidens. By the end of this administration, the things that will make you a domestic extremist will be like not liking sniffing little kids' hair, not enjoying chocolate chip as your favorite ice cream. That's okay, Aftershock. I understand what the comedy's about. I don't mind it. Chocolate chip is not the best ice cream. It's objectively not true. Nope. Incorrect. It is funny, though. Dylan's the same. Just to give you a little insight of Dylan here. Dylan's the same guy that thought that you should probably have a vaccine passport to go grocery shopping, but not to go to a protest because it would be dangerous for the federal government to have a list of everyone's name that was protesting, even though many of these protests were resulting in violence, right? But Dylan still said that's one exception of having a vaccine passport, because even though it's very important, even so important that maybe you shouldn't be allowed to go to work without one, or you shouldn't be allowed to go to a restaurant, but if the government had a list of people protesting it, they could do very bad things to those people. But he's cool with Biden's speech saying millions of people are domestic extremists because they voted for the other guy. Interesting. Very similar to how Dylan Burns also thought that even though natural immunity was superior to vaccinated immunity, those people with natural immunity that were not vaccinated should still be forced to be tested every week at work. And I said, well, are you vaccinated? And he said, sure. And I said, well, does that mean that you should be forced to be tested every week before work? And he said, no, because I'm vaccinated. I was like, but you've admitted that makes you less protected than those that have natural immunity. So if we're going to test them because they could still spread it, you could spread it even more. So why shouldn't you be tested? And then he thought, and he was like, yeah, never mind. I guess they don't have to be tested because just like with the vaccine passports, except for the activity I like to do, which is go protest or cover protest, once it becomes an imposition on people like Dylan, then, oh, that's too much. That's too much. But he's willing for you to make sacrifices. He's willing for the government to target you, not himself so much. Now, maybe you're thinking, is Rob misrepresenting this? Did that really happen? Shall we go to the tape? Now, I, unfortunately, because the federal government's in communication with YouTube and they like to strike me for videos I did 18 months ago and so I had to delete most of my videos. Unfortunately, I had to take my video down. But my friend Drone Tech Politics, who is quite the editor, he actually edited some little sound effects to it. So let's go to the tape, shall we? Now watch the amazingness, right? Watch how amazing it is. As soon as sacrifices are required to be made, Dylan was fine with everyone else making sacrifices, was absolutely fine. But as soon as he was asked to make a similar sacrifice, well, that changed his whole worldview. Let's go to the tape, shall we? Also, for if you want some extra laugh, Dylan, I know you're still here. We're doing jokes, we're laughing around, so I know you'll find this funny too, right? Watch how Dylan, as most of the lefties I debate, starts to read his chat to try to get response to me, only to his chagrin find out that his chat's telling him, actually, Rob's right about this. Here we go to the tape, shall we? But your argument, even for the vaccinated, or for the people that have had the virus, is we should force them to take the vaccine or get tested, right? You're saying that's the caveat, or force them to get tested, right? Correct?
Yeah. I do believe that that's probably the best way to do it. And honestly, Biden thought of it before I did, and I think it was good that he was in charge of it instead of me, because I might have gone a little further.
So just real quick, just to get everything clarified before I make my point, you're admitting that the evidence seems to suggest that natural immunity is superior to the vaccinated, correct?
Yes, with the caveat that they should also get vaccinated as well.
Great, or get tested. That's your argument, right? They should get vaccinated or get tested.
Yes.
So you think that they should get tested or get the vaccine, even though they're more protected than the vaccinated, correct?
Say one more time. I'm sorry. I just want to be very
You think
careful.
that people that have had COVID and have natural immunity should get tested or get vaccinated, right?
Yes.
And your philosophical premise to such is, even though it might be against their wishes.
But everyone, by the way. This is everyone, them included.
Okay. And so my question to you are you vaccinated? You don't have to tell me if you don't want.
Yes, I am. I have both vaccines.
Should you be forced to get tested every week?
No, because I'm vaccinated.
You're more likely to spread and catch the disease than people with natural immunity, and you think they should get tested every week.
I'm more likely to catch and spread the disease, but I think they should also get vaccinated. You know what, Rob? I'd be perfectly fine with people who have natural immunity going that route. If there was an exception, and you can prove that to me right now.
So wait a minute, what made you change your philosophical position? It almost seems like...
Wait. Wait, 1 second. Give me a moment here. Somebody's told me that's not true. I'm sorry. I'm trying to... I thought we were going to talk about something a little bit different here. So that's why... give me a second here. He's right here, actually. If he's saying affect everyone with COVID, Rob was right. Yeah, I mean, honestly... So you just backtracked your entire position as soon as it was an imposition to you. As soon as it would have been having to get tested every week. Now you're like, you know what? Then people with natural immunity don't have to get tested. Can I not? Okay.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Drone Tech. I still like Dylan, just to be clear, and I do hope that he stays safe, regardless of even disagreements we have in Ukraine. He went there, and I hope that he's safe. I really do. But just to give you an idea, I like that speech Biden gave, calling everyone that voted against him a domestic terrorist that's attacking our democracy. Just to give you a little idea of how it'll go when the shoe's on the other foot. I'll bet his mind changes real quick. But I don't mind joking our way through it. That's fine. I just wanted to let you all know. Thanks for the sub. That's all. I just wanted to let you know where he'll be. You know where he'll be. You know exactly what it'll be. Everyone that went to that particular protest that was against our current government will be treated as a domestic extremist. We're getting a list of their names. Dylan will go, but free speech is so important. My God, this is tyranny. Dylan will say, you should have to have a vaccine passport to go to work to feed your family or to buy groceries, but I shouldn't have to go LARP at a Black Lives Matter event. Because free speech matters. I know, but I'm for the president saying that all of you are terrorists for voting against him. That's based. 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 So we'll see. I still like Dylan, though. when my side takes over and starts locking up people that disagree, I'll speak up for Dylan and everyone else because I'm not that petty. I think the Constitution matters, and I don't want people targeted through the most powerful law enforcement agency in the history of the world just because they voted for the other guy. Aftershock doesn't like Dylan. I don't think that's a surprise. But I don't... Y'all heard the speech, Biden's speech. Dylan thinks it's based. Okay. Oh, there. Aftershock go on Dylan's stream. Oh, I know. Aftershock. I understand. I don't think Dylan would specifically want me locked up. I think if I got locked up because I voted for Trump, Dylan would say, that's wrong. That's terrible. Anyways, let's see what Steven Crowder's saying today and do a video on it. I don't think he would protest too much. But I don't think he specifically wants me locked up. But that's just because he knows me a little. For people that he doesn't know as well, if the government tells him that they're dangerous domestic terrorism, he'd probably believe it. He probably would. After all, Dylan is also the person that had to talk himself out of wanting to profile Muslims that were trying to join the military after 9/11. It's funny how the woke amongst us have to constantly backtrack their sort of racism. I don't know if that's racism, if it's religious based, but you know what I mean. But I don't think that Dylan wants me locked up. I don't think that. He's in the chat. I don't feel like I'm not just calling him out like he's not here. That is this. You brought up Azov. I think that's funny too. Dylan does post out a lot about like this Russian guy had some Nazi imagery. It's like, oh, dude, we are sending money to Nazi sympathizers in Ukraine. It's cool though. They're cool with gay marriage now, so it's all right. It's all right. You know, people giving the okay sign. You know, if I go to the playground and hit a 3-pointer and give the Steph Curry, you know, someone takes a picture, I'm a white nationalist. But Azov wearing Nazi slogans, it's like, well, you know, there's some nuance here. You know, that Iron Cross, that black sun, you know, sure, Nazi memorabilia, but, you know, there's some nuance here. Not like that okay sign. That shit's racist. Do I want to talk or something? Oh, I don't care. I got a half an hour. I'm trying to get on Comfy here if they would work out the bugs. I assume they're still working at it. Let me check. I'm just picking because you're here. That's all. But I'm always down for a talk if you want. Ukraine, they know. Ukraine knows. It's just like the CIA putting out videos. We here at the CIA like people in wheelchairs and that are transgendered and that are bisexual or lesbian. We love them. So please come join us as we institute color revolutions around the world. The bombs we drop have rainbows on them. We here at Azov, we still wear Nazi imagery. We hide it a little better now. Couldn't get rid of our tattoos in the Monova war zone. But we're cool with the gays now. Now please send us another $1.7 billion. Thank you so much. It's cool. Your money's not being laundered here. Dylan also said that there's no chance Russia could win, that it's already over. At this point, the money being sent will just accelerate the downfall of Russia. But there's literally no chance from Russia to win. So I assume we won't see any more victories for Russia. We're not going to see much. Maybe the odd one, I think Dylan would say, but we won't see it. Maybe he's right. I hope he's right. I'll be honest. I have no love for fucking Russia. They're the aggressors in this war. I think that they were provoked by the United States and NATO and the West, but it still doesn't excuse their actions. I'm still against their actions. And the quicker they lose, the quicker the war ends. That's what I want for the Ukrainian people. And for that matter, for people in Russia that are fighting that probably had no choice in the matter. You know, I don't give a shit about Putin. But well, that's what I want. But I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical that things are going as rosy as someone like Dylan thinks. Who knows, though? He's on the ground. Maybe he's right. I'm smart enough to know that all of us have our bias, and perhaps Dylan's bias is influencing that. But I hope he's right. I do. I'm just saying. That was the prediction. I think if that's the prediction, we could save our billions of dollars and maybe send it to somewhere like Jackson where they don't have drinking water. Just a thought. Brownouts in California, but billions to Ukraine. How'd you feel about that? If you're in Jackson and you can't drink drinking water, you're poor, you live in the inner city in Jackson, right? You don't have drinking water. But take comfort in knowing you're paying off people with, African dance study degrees. You're paying off their tuition. Your water could wait, damn it. We need more anthropology majors. Drink your tears. Crazy. What's up, LD the Goon? Gender studies. Yeah. Hey, man, you guys will be paying off part of my student loan. So, by the way, I don't think that shit will pass. I think the courts will overrule it. It's just a PR stunt by Biden to drum up support from his base because no one really likes the guy. I don't think that speech helped him here the other night. But again, the speech wasn't about the short term. If you missed, the speech isn't going to help Biden in the short term because moderates and independents are going to be like, this guy sounds like a dictator. Like the imagery, the language, so people like Dylan could think it was based, and that's fine. And listen, I'm serious about that. I don't mind. Let me give you an example. I would rather that there not be people that want to teach sexuality to kindergartners. I think that's despicable. In fact, I think that that's one of the things that is non-negotiable for me. Like, I could think Dylan's a good person and like talking with Dylan and like interacting with him and disagree with him on Ukraine. Or I could disagree with him on Medicare for all. I could even disagree with him to a degree on Biden's speech. All right? That's all fine. I don't know how I could be chummy with anyone who wants to teach sexuality to children. Non-negotiable. And that and the other one that I really put up there, I'm sure there's others if I thought about it, but people that'll tell you that 9-month abortions are cool. And I know that sets me apart because some people would say all abortion is despicable. I think that the issue is more complicated. I think that I could understand why people with good intentions could fall on either side of that debate. I do not see how someone who's remotely a moral human being could cheer for a 9-month abortion. I just don't see it. It's disgusting. It's despicable. But other than that, I'll talk to people. Even if I despise your position, I could still talk to you. I could set it aside. It's all right. But that speech, that was about that Trump's going to be indicted. That's what that speech was about. And like I said, it sets the groundwork so that the extremist foot soldiers on the left that you see, intimidating Justice Kavanaugh and lighting cities on fire and, the Antifa people in Portland and Seattle and the Chaz Zone people and, the people that are making assassination attempts on Supreme Court justices. It's a signal to them. Yeah, you're fighting Nazis. You're fighting extremists. So it's okay. What you guys are doing are okay. Go ahead and fireball more of them and whatever. That was the signal. And then it was a signal to all of us that we're going to indict Trump. It's okay. That's what we're going to do. And they're trying to provoke a response, which they've probably already set up. They've probably already had people in chat rooms where people are like, time to refresh the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants. And then the FBI was in there and was like, well, if we send this hot chick to smoke weed with you and sleep in your bed, can we convince you to try to kidnap some Democrat somewhere? And they'll be like, no, you can't do that. That's stupid. We're not going to do that. And they're like, okay, but what if it's a lot of weed? And what if it's a really hot chick? And they'd be like, no. And then the FBI would be like, but what if it's twins? Right? And then they'd be like, okay, I guess. If they sleep with me and smoke a lot of weed with me, then I guess I could be talked in to committing some crime. And then they'll be like, ha, gotcha. See? Trump people are evil. But even if they're not setting stuff like that, It's inevitable when you push and push and push. I said this when the riots were occurring, the Summer of Love, the Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots that occurred all leading up to the 2020 election. I was like, inevitably, when you tell one side, when one side has every institution on their side, and that's what Black Lives Matter had. Every institution was on Black Lives Matter side. Name one that wasn't. Corporate America, all publicly saying Black Lives Matter. Academia, all Black Lives Matter. Social media, all Black Lives Matter. Mainstream media, all black. Hell, even Fox. Even politically, Republicans. There were Republicans in my state that were breaking lockdown orders to go march with Black Lives Matter. Couldn't bother to speak up for their constituents whose children were being stuck at home, malnourished and not learning. Couldn't help them, but they go march with Black Lives Matter. Republicans. That's how universal the support was in all of the major institutions for Black Lives Matter. And still they engaged in violence and said, no one's listening to us. We engage in violence. And what I said was, when you have all the institutions with you and you still engage in violence and the narrative is, well, it's mostly peaceful, blah, blah, blah. Inevitably, the signal to the other side is going to be like, okay, that's appropriate then. If they could do it, we could do it. And when that happens, the left will lose their minds and say, this is the worst thing in the world, lock them all up. It's exactly what happened. As I predicted it would. It's human nature. Which is why the left will get even more violent if actual conservatives get into positions of power and start rolling back some of this extremism. Because it is true that violence is sort of a last resort for most people. The reason it's so prevalent on the left right now is because they get away with it. You could riot and beat people up in Portland as a left-winger and the cops won't do shit. Or they'll give you a slap on the wrist. So you keep doing it. Remember, when you think about the left freaked out when Elon Musk was trying to buy Twitter. Not because they were worried that if Elon bought Twitter, that he would do to the left what the people running Twitter have done to the right, that he'll selectively target the left and censor them. And they weren't worried about that. That's not why they were freaking out. They were freaking out because they were worried it would be a free speech platform, that they wouldn't censor the right. And that's how the left looks at things. And I know if Dylan was in here still, he would say, which I can't tell. I don't think he's in here still. But if he was, he would say, what do you mean by the left? Everyone on the left. Yes, I don't mean everyone on the left, but I mean the people that identify on the left that largely are the ones that are culturally shaping a narrative right now. They constantly think like, oh, we only have 95% of control of the narrative. We need 100. It's not fair if there's 5% control. And there's tangible ways to look at this. Apples to apples comparisons. When Cambridge Analytica used a small portion of Facebook data to send targeted ads to Republican voters, that was fraud. That was corrupt. You can't do that. But when Obama worked with Facebook itself to use huge swaths of data to target ads for the Democrats, that was considered shrewd and very good. It was okay for them to do it at a massive level, but if Republicans do it at a smaller level, you can't do that. You see? You can't do what we do. You can't do that. But Dylan thought that speech was based, so that's good. Oh, there's Dylan messaging me. Oh, I missed a call. I'm sorry, Dylan. I didn't realize you were calling now. Yeah, I'll call back if you're still there, man. I did not realize. He's probably in a different time zone. I just thought he said, do you want to talk? I didn't know you meant... Are you there, man? Hey, I didn't know you meant now. What's happening?
Oh, shit.
I
got back to work. I can do a second. Hey.
Okay. What's up? You still... What time is it where you're at? Some ungodly hour?
It's 8:38 a.m.
A.m., okay. So you're 7 hours ahead of us.
Yep, 7 hours. I haven't slept. But my sleep schedule's insane.
Right. What's the weather going to be like here tomorrow? What can I expect in 7 hours? That's how it works, right?
Well, for me, it's missiles, so I think you'll expect some shrapnel.
I hope not, man. I got a wedding, and I think it's going to be outdoors, so shrapnel won't do for me. If you could
hey, Raytheon drones are attracted to those things.
I'm happy that they're... you're all for financing them. Your guys financing them like they've never been. So that'll be good.
Absolutely.
At least, hey, you got to spur jobs somehow in the States here, right? So might as well be bombing people around the world. So, what did you want to
of course.
talk about? What did you want to? I know you wanted to talk to Aftershock, but Biden's speech, is that what you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't care enough about that. I'm just interested. I come in the chat and I post an emote. I post a single emote, and look at that. Dylan is a liar. Oh, Dylan with the steel chair. Look, all I want to say is I come in here as a libtard in peace. Okay, as a libtard in peace, and then Aftershock is a bully. Okay, he bullies me because I'm prettier than him, and I understand that jealousy comes from a deep place, from my long, luscious locks, my beautiful blue eyes, my amazing dock worker physique. Okay, but as a libtard in peace, I expect respect and not to be canceled as the liberal Dave Chappelle for making chat jokes. Okay. And so I want Aftershock. Wait. No, Aftershock's canceling me. Okay, he's being, he's being racist against liberals, and I would like a formal apology from Aftershock. I would like you to make Aftershock apologize to me.
I can't make him do anything. Let me ask you a question though. I know one of the words that we agree that neither of us like are the R word. Do you think throwing lib in front of it?
Libtard. I actually have been using the word retard a lot more.
Have you?
Yeah, it slipped out of my mouth a lot more.
Does it give it? Is it like what was his name? Chris Matthews. It send a tingle up your leg like Obama did to him.
I don't know what it is. I think when I was younger, I used it a lot because I was just like a kid, using words.
Like gay.
You know what I mean?
You used to use gay a lot.
Yeah, it's like gay. It's the exact same thing. But now I don't know why. It's because I think a lot of streamers have been using it more, and it kind of infested my mind. In that footage of me getting shelled in the in Mykolaiv, we actually edited out me being like, you hear me scream out to a guy called Philip in the footage. They cut out right after I say, Philip, you fucking retard, get over here, because he's just standing in the street as the fucking artillery's falling.
Plus so he's autistic, so that wasn't a cool thing to say.
Yeah. He does have a tiny bit of Down syndrome, but I mean it was a little mean of me.
For me, I mean, obviously in my line of work, it's something that you just don't say because. One of the things that people don't understand with a lot of people with disabilities, people treat them like they're not around, especially if you're nonverbal. It's one of the sad, not to get too bummy here, but they do with nonverbal people, they do what's called facilitated communication sometimes. So they could use keyboards or other things where they could signal language to you. And one of the things that people find, even families find out when they have a nonverbal child is one of the first things inevitably the child will say is, people treat me like I don't exist. Like I could be in the room with them, but because I'm nonverbal, they'll talk about me right there. They don't talk to me, they're talking about me because, I can't talk. So even parents that love their nonverbal kids, it's inevitable. It's horrible, but once the child can actually communicate, it's like, oh my God, we're sorry, we didn't realize we were doing that. So I had to train myself to sort of be conscious, not to say anything that could be seen as derogatory to the people I work with. And that's one of the words, but I don't give a shit. It's not like if I'm on a stream and someone says it that I'm like, I'm just like, well, I had to take it out of my lexicon because if I'm yelling it on a Friday night in a panel, then maybe I slip up and I say it at work and it has a really bad effect on someone. So that's my rationale for not using it,
I honestly, I know I shouldn't use it. And I think everybody does this. There's things you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway. And you shouldn't do it, but you're just like, fuck it, a little bit. And this is one of those things.
I don't care. I find that to me, I mean, this is seems like it's not the same thing, but to me it kind of is. It's like telling a black joke. I know this isn't the answer people want to hear, but you can kind of tell if someone's racist or not. If I walk into a bar here in rural Pennsylvania and I see a bunch of people with Confederate flag shirts on telling a joke where the punchline's like the N-word, probably not a good thing. But if I see two white guys, two black guys, and a Hispanic guy, and one tells that joke and the black guys and the Hispanic guys laughing, probably not racist, right? Probably, I know it's not that simple, but that's basically how I am. I don't get fired up about it. I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit. No, I'm not the one. I'm not about to get kicked off Twitch it's not a word I use all the time. It's not jokes I make, but I don't give a shit. I just don't. It's like you go in these, I always think it's funny. You got to use this word. You can't use this word. It's like, okay, lighten up a little. I'm just here because it's entertainment for myself. Need this list of shit I can and can't say, but
Yeah, I'm just trying to reel it in a bit, but it's just like I don't know. I just certain circumstances make me care a little bit less.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think
trying
that
to work
people-
on it.
I think people most of the time it's not good faith when people are correcting you for it. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's just a power struggle. It's like I gotcha. Oh, you said that word, you can't say that. You know, and it's not like, well, you're saying that because you seriously care. You think it's some gotcha. And in that case, I'm like, go fuck yourself. I don't care. I always thought it was funny. Do you ever have the, like, I've had this conversation, or I've heard this as a bartender. I used to hear this all the time. Like, you hear some chick say this, like, well, you can call me anything you want, but you don't call me a bitch. And it's like, why would you say that? Now, if you get in an argument with someone, I bet I know the first thing they call you.
You've got like they've given you like the ultimate like
Yeah.
weapon against them.
It's like being a boxer. I remember, like, don't hit me in the left ear. Whatever you do, that's my weak spot. It's like, okay.
I remember as a kid, I don't know, I was like 6 or 7 or something. I was dumbass age, and I remember there was like this interaction I had with a kid, and I remember wanting to get in a fight with him, but I wanted to feel like I was justified to throw like the first punch, and so I was like, well, you better not say anything about my family. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
I said that out loud, like here's I drew like a line in the sand, purposely, which of course he then crossed and then led to a fight.
And that stuff happened all the time. Like, that's kid stuff, man. Like, kids always, don't you talk about my mom. It's like, okay, now I know what to talk about. Yeah, that happened all the time. I actually got kicked off a bus once because someone made fun of my hair, and then I made fun of their hair, which happened to be an afro. And I got kicked off, and the kid was my friend and was like, no, we're just joking. But the bus driver did not see it that way. I was like, whatever.
I had a big problem when I was in California. I make pretty offensive jokes. I definitely in private when I know everybody is like that I'm interacting with like doesn't feel a certain way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because when I do it in public, I feel like if I do it on my stream, I feel like there's 500 people in the room. There's a decent chance there's like 5 or 10 who are gonna laugh, but they're gonna be laughing for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? And I don't want to re-encourage that behavior. And so I try to be very clear, even if I ever do let those jokes slip on stream, I always make sure it slips in an environment where it's pretty obvious to like know what I believe about something. But in private, I'll be like really hard about it. And I would go to restaurants and I'd act the same way that I would act in like the house sometimes with making these jokes. And I remember just like having a friend over there just be like, Dylan, shut the fuck up, not fucking he like looked around when I would make these jokes. He looked around. I was like, no, dude, who's gonna do anything? Nobody's gonna say anything to me. Right. But he's minding their business. But like, you get self-conscious that everybody's looking at you.
So I'll say some shit that's gonna get me in trouble and probably here streaming. I don't care. I don't know how much you follow football, but there's this quarterback. He's like the highest paid player ever, Deshaun Watson. He plays for the Browns, and allegedly he like went in this like 3-month spree of hiring female masseuses, and then I haven't followed the case that much, but I think what he's accused of doing is being like, hey, what do you think of this? Want to touch this? Shit like that, which isn't cool. It's not. But I had a fancy football draft with a bunch of friends tonight, and my last pick, even though he's suspended, I picked Deshaun Watson, and then I named my team the Masseuse Connoisseurs.
Jesus.
And there's a new person in the league. She did not find it funny. The rest of my friends are like, I get it. Rob's just being an ass here. I'm not condoning the behavior. I just knew that it would be funny. I drafted the guy just for that joke. But you forget, it's like, not everyone shares your sensibilities. So there's a new person in the group. They did not find it funny. So I was like, well, I was like, would it make you feel better if I changed my team name to the Happy Endings? And didn't work either. They weren't, but oh well, what can you do?
I remember having that experience when I was younger with a joke about AIDS. I remember I made a joke about AIDS to my father, and a man who I guess like didn't understand I was just joking was like, "You do not joke about that." And I was like, "Why not? It's a joke." He was like, "You just don't." It's like, who did I hurt? Who did I hurt with AIDS? They already have AIDS. Like, how did that make it worse?
AIDS sucked. But you know what really hurt? Hearing that kid over there
comedy,
make that joke.
Yeah.
That
really
really
joke
hurt.
about AIDS. Like if you have AIDS, plus if they have AIDS, what are they gonna do? Chase me down? They don't got the energy.
Yeah, right. That's one of my favorite jokes. Norm Macdonald told was like him talking to his friend about Bill Cosby. He's like, you know what the worst part is? The hypocrisy. And Norm's like, I don't think that's the worst
I
part.
thought it was
think
the raping.
The raping. That's probably.
Oh God.
It's like, yeah. I always think
good.
it's funny, and I know you can't control your audience. I can't control my audience either. But I always think it's funny when I like joke at you on Twitter, like how fucking furious some people in your audience.
It's
not all
so,
of them.
Rob. I can't even tell when you're joking or not. Like it's hard to read sarcasm when it's like text.
That is true. That is true. But I'm 99% of the time joking. You know, so I can't remember what the last thing was. But no, like I mentioned, I was like, do you think you'd get me a job in the CIA? And people were like, oh, that's so fucking stupid. I'm like,
well, you got to also understand that I had
you know.
that week, multiple people accused me of being a CIA
I know. That's
agent.
why I said it. I saw them doing it.
That's true.
People
really think it.
But it is funny. Like then my wife will be like, you know, no one could tell if you're joking like on Twitter. So I was like, I'm going to message Dylan on Discord just so he knows like I'm not being serious. I don't legitimately think you're a fucking CIA agent.
I'm not CIA.
Aftershock does though. Aftershock, maybe a Fed. You're just FBI.
Maybe a Fed. No, I'm what is it? Department of Tobacco Firearms. What is it?
ATF.
ATF. I'm ATF. Yeah.
One of those Waco killers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a descendant. I want to double the high score.
So it's funny. I was supposed to be on Comfy.Stream tonight. They're working out technical bugs, but it's funny that you came on because the last time I did a big late night stream was my 24 hours before Trump came on, and you came on there and was on for like 2.5 hours. So fitting that you came on tonight.
It seems it's spiritual.
Yeah.
The Trump 24 hours before Trump. I do not remember which stream that was.
Yeah, you did. You were wearing like a Burger King crown and like a robe. Purple robe.
Bro, that was a good gimmick. The liberal elitist. That was a great gimmick.
We talked on. Wasn't as good as transpositive Rob. That was great. I think
that was
stuff.
I tried so hard to pull you out of that. Like, dude, like please, like we get it because it was the same joke for like 10 or 11th
but
time.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
But it derailed the conversation.
No, that's true. I fully expected to get kicked off. I don't blame you at all. That's another thing. I wanted to like private message CTV because I think CTV was like going to die on that hill. Like, how fucking dare you kick Rob off? And I fully expected to get kicked off. So I was like, CTV, calm down, dude. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Like, don't go down with the ship because I was being an asshole, you know? Like,
it'd be like, you're like one of those people who like go into traffic and like block traffic as a protester. And then they eventually, like after 2 hours, they get arrested. And then it's like I'm gonna take this to the Supreme Court. Like I don't think you got a case, buddy. Like I don't think that you got much debate here.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I'm like, poor CTV. He's fucking. But I felt bad with Toft. Was that her name? Taft? I didn't get how to pronounce.
Yeah, I think it was Taft. Yeah, Taft.
Yeah, she probably wasn't too. Fuck. Like I don't give a fuck. I was so pissed off that whole fucking month. Getting my Discord banned. It's just stupid. I'll talk shit here for a second too. It's like people like Tiffany Starr. You know, Tiffany calls on like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. She's like, hey, Rob, I did drunken debates with you and I was really drunk and made a fool of myself. I'd like to come on and talk to you, but not debate you. I said, fine. She came on and we talked for an hour and a half, basically about 90s video games. Like, what game was better, Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter? You know, we just had a conversation like that, and then she leaves. And the first thing my audience says is, well, why do you call her the pronouns? And I was like, I thought it was a good conversation. I had fun. Like, just for the sake of facilitating a conversation, I use the pronouns that people ask as long as they're not dicks about it. You know, for me, it's just a matter of common courtesy and politeness. Doesn't mean I might agree with everything that I think that they believe, but it's just a matter of common courtesy. The next thing I knew, I'm getting botted and mass reported, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? And basically, she went to a different channel with like no comment chick or someone was like, Rob just said that I don't have the right to exist. And so I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I was on CTV's channel like a week later, and she came on, and CTV's like, what did Rob say? And she's like, well, he told my audience, his audience, he might not agree with me. He just calls me the pronouns because it's common courtesy. I was like, yeah? How does that mean you don't have the right to exist? I don't get it. And she just brought all that shit on me. And I know, because she was on my Discord channel right before it got reported. And I swear to God, the report you get just says like this. It's like Discord sends me a thing and it's just like, there's hateful content targeting a marginalized community on your channel. If you don't remove it, we'll remove your account, your channel, and all of your mods' accounts. And I looked for like 2 hours. I'm like, I don't know where it's at. I don't see anyone misgendering anyone. I don't see any hateful comments towards any communities. So I had no choice but to disband the channel because I didn't want all the mods to lose their channel. Like, I think Sonsel was one of my mods. He would have lost his fucking channel, or his account. So it's shit like that. That's why I was so pissed off. And I was like, well, it's Pride Month. I might as well just become super trans positive. And I also think you set me, I'm not going to say intentionally, but when you have me on to debate people like Demon Mama and you bring that up as a topic, you fucking know what's going to happen. Like, it's inevitable, right? It's just perpetual motion.
Well, if you're having a 3.5 hour debate, you have to choose people who are going to have contention to some degree, aren't you?
Well, but well, yeah, but I won't debate those issues anymore. I'm not, because
I don't really even do debate period anymore. Like, I'll do a debate every once in a while. Like, I had a debate recently with Lauren Southern.
How'd that go?
But I think it went pretty well. It was about Daria Dugin. Because
the woman that died.
Yeah, the woman who was assassinated by, people say it was Ukraine. I could rant for hours why Ukraine makes no sense. I think it was the National Republican Army, which I know that's wild, this new thing pumped out of nowhere, or I think it was internal power struggling, possibly FSB. But I said, I don't really have much sympathy for her, and I don't blame people for not having sympathy for Daria Dugin when she justified war crimes. Like, it'd be like if someone was like, Rob, let's say somebody was like, man, I hope your house gets burned down by looters, and then the house gets burned down by looters, and then you're supposed to stand there and have sympathy for them. It's like, you know.
It is
That's
tough.
How I felt about it.
It's tough. This is gonna sound really weird. So, I used to be a bigger sports fan than what I am now. There was this player for the Steelers named Rashard Mendenhall, and Mendenhall, I don't know what year this is, 2007 or something. It was, but you remember, you know what? I remember what was going on because I was a wrestling fan. You remember when John Cena announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been informed that we found and compromised Osama bin Laden," which is a surreal moment, like a professional wrestler announcing. Mm-hmm. It's like, okie dokie. So it was right after that, and this football player, Rashard Mendenhall, basically made the point like, look, man, I'm not going to celebrate someone's death, right? I think it's ghoulish, basically, he said. And he basically got drummed out of sports for it because people were like, well, and you know, bin Laden's as despicable as it comes. And I don't agree with him, but I understand the sentiment. It's like, yeah, I get it. And it is a fine line. It is. People die all the time that I don't like. But I don't cheer for their death. But I also am not going to claim that I'm grieving. To. Right. I'm not going to claim that I'm grieving or that my world stopped. It's a difficult thing. And my feeling on it is this. Everyone's going to react slightly different. So I don't get heated by it. Now, if Donald Trump died tomorrow, there would be a huge amount of people that would be like, yay, this is great. I wouldn't do that. If Hillary Clinton died tomorrow, I wouldn't be doing that. But there would be people that would be like, yay, I'm glad she died. I find it, distasteful for me personally but I'm also not judging people that harshly. So I don't know. I guess that's a non-answer, but I didn't really look at it. If you thought that this woman was, engaged in propaganda that was resulting in the death of your people in your homeland, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to be like, oh, well, that's too bad. You would be like, I'm sorry she died, but fuck, that you play with fire. Sometimes you get burned,
I guess, for me, she did a report about how Bucha was false. It was a false flag done by the Ukrainians. And the reason they chose Bucha was because it sounded like butcher. Right? And I went to Bucha and I met people who had lost fucking everything. I met this one woman whose apartment caught on fire 3 separate times. And every single one of her neighbors' apartments were burned to a crisp, except for hers. And she's still living in an apartment that's completely empty except for her apartment. And every day she walks out of her front door and sees all of her neighbors are gone or dead. Right? It's absolutely tragic. Her husband was a liquidator, by the way. Those people who fucking saved all of Europe by risking their lives to end the Chernobyl power plant's meltdown. Mm-hmm. And I remember later I also interviewed a woman who was a nun at the church where the mass grave formed in Bucha. And she tells these stories about one of our church boys was tortured in a basement. a good friend of mine was shot in the head because he wouldn't speak Russian. And like these stories that I would hear, and like I'd go to the mass grave, and then I hear her like trying to cover it up. And the thing is, not only is it like horrible because you're trying to like erase this history, but it's horrible because when you cover up war crimes, it makes it easy for other war crimes to take place. You're setting a precedent, right? And so that it's hard for me to have experienced that and then look at her having the violence that she wanted to be subjugated to another country. It's hard for me to feel that sympathy. I remember in the like it's like, oh, Osama bin Laden. Like, am I supposed to stand here? And like, I know they're not exactly the same, but am I supposed to stand here and say, well, we're all human beings? Like, yeah, but I'm also a human being in the sense that I have emotions that I'm not going to pretend that I don't have. And certainly Ukrainians who experience that firsthand, like, you can't expect their sympathy.
Right, but let me play devil's advocate. I didn't hear your conversation with Lauren, nor do I know any of the specific details. But saying something's a false flag isn't the same as saying that it didn't happen, right? So she was her counter to that. Well,
she was saying that the Ukrainians did it. That her counter was that the Ukrainians did it to themselves.
Well, right, but that could the people you met that lost loved ones. If Ukraine did do it, that doesn't mean that they wouldn't have lost loved ones or that they would have had knowledge of it. I'm not saying that's what happened. I don't even know the fucking area you're talking about. I don't know anything about this. I'm just saying because that, there's a difference. Like they're saying.
Well, can I say
government was involved?
It sounds a little bit. It sounds a little bit like I remember once there was a figure who said that Hitler was Jewish. I forget who said that. But it was like a real controversy, a big controversy that happened.
I've heard that.
And there was like a statement from the Israeli Foreign Ministry that said, "We didn't kill ourselves. We did not genocide ourselves."
Right.
And that's what it kind of feels like when it comes to Bucha. Like that, like the evidence is overwhelming. And to say that means that the Russians cover their tracks, and it means that if they do it again, then you could be like, well, we know that the Ukrainians have done these false flags before. Remember Bucha? And then you can take out the old talking points and like project it.
Well, maybe.
And so,
maybe
like for example, like the German. This was like a tactic the German would use when there was like reports about that. They would say, oh, the Soviets did that.
Yeah, but you could use the opposite, right? You could say there were probably people in your position with the Reichstag fire that were saying, like, well, that's absurd to claim that Germans did it themselves. Like, that'll cover up war crimes in the future.
I do agree that real conspiracies happen. That's why I've talked about, like, Darya Dugin as an example. I think her assassination is an example of this. Or we know that the Russians launched false flags that started this war where they had people dressed in Ukrainian uniforms and invade Russia, which we all know, like, Ukraine didn't invade Russia. It would be fucking, like, we all just know from a logical position. It wouldn't make any sense. It's the same exact thing the Germans did when it came to Poland, when they had German soldiers dressed up in Poland uniforms and attack German positions, so they had an excuse. And so it's not that conspiracies never happen, it's just that you're going to need, like, some pretty good evidence for it, and her evidence was, Bucha sounds like butcher, and not really anything else.
Listen, like, I get called a conspiracy theorist a lot for shit that I believe, which is fine, right? But I would like to think that if I'm saying something that I have a little more evidence of that. I'm sure if Lauren was here, she would say she has different evidence. I'm not sure.
Well, no, she didn't disagree that Bucha happened. It was an argument about sympathy for the dead. She wasn't like exactly trying to defend everything she did. Like, I remember at one point in the conversation, somebody in chat brought it up. Like, who was it? It was Fun Juan said, one second, I'll scroll up. It was something along the lines of, Dylan, like, I had an interaction, and he was objecting to this in chat. I had an interaction with her where I said, like, I mean, to a certain degree, I do think that she deserves, like, if she goes to hell, that's what she deserves. I said something along those lines, and she said, I don't think anyone should go to hell. And I said, like not even like Hitler? Like, what do you mean nobody? And then,
wait, who did you say should go to hell? Lauren or
Darya Dugin.
Okay. Because I was going to say, that's a bit much just because you disagree with this to say Lauren should
I said Darya Dugin should go to hell.
I got you.
And she said no one should go to hell. And I'm like, not even Hitler? And it was like, then she recommended me a book. And it felt like the conversation was a lot like that. Like,
people should go to
I don't know, like,
I
felt like, it felt like kind of like almost, I don't want to say it was virtue signaling, but it kind of felt like it.
I have this weird, I don't know. I like, all I could do is speak for myself. Again, I don't judge people too harshly for this shit, right? I think there's a level that's I judge, right? Like, if you're wishing people die because they didn't take a vaccine, fuck you. If you're wishing, that someone loses their child because they're pro-choice, so they feel the pain of losing a child, then fuck you. That shit's heinous. But we're talking about different shit here. People that are accused of war crimes or facilitating war crimes or propaganda.
Yeah,
war crimes.
I felt like a lot of people are disconnected from the fact that like Ukraine is at war, right? And so when we describe violence in Ukraine and talking about fighting back against Russia, when I say something like, yeah, I do hope the invaders of the country get killed, because to me, in my mind, it's like that's how you win a war, right? That's how wars work. And when I say that, some people go like, oh! And I'm like, well, that's a war. Like, I'm sorry, it's not all peaches and cream, but like that's how it works.
I agree that is how. Now, where I disagree with you is I think that the United States and NATO and the West should have been pushing for peace way sooner. And now it looks like that they were actually sabotaging efforts, but we could have that. I'm not even in for that conversation tonight. I got to get going soon. But yeah, I want to see an end to it. But clearly, when you're in war, it's different. Like, it's different than this country where we're not in a war. And I might vehemently disagree. I might think the stakes are very high for the upcoming elections. I still wouldn't want cheating for my side to win. I still wouldn't want harm or pain to come to my enemy, the people that disagree with me. I don't. And I think that, I don't know. I don't know what it is about me that I'm able to separate these things. But, I'm able to look at people that I massively disagree with. Even some, I'm not putting you in this category, but there are people that would literally wish ill to me, and I'm able to not respond back in kind, right? Like people like Keffels or something that might say, I hope that fucking Rob would lose his channel. I don't hope she loses her channel. I don't give a fuck, right? I don't care. It's no skin, no sweat off my back, but I don't know. I've just always been that way. Maybe it's because, for large swaths of my life, almost everyone I was around, I completely disagreed with. So I just learned to compartmentalize it and was like, okay, everyone in the debate community disagrees with me in politics, but what are you going to do? If those are the people you're hanging out with 12 hours a day, you're going to be like, I fucking hate everyone. For 6 years of my life, I just hate everyone. Like, you'll drive yourself nuts, So it's like, you just learn to compartmentalize it and find good in people and say, well, all right, even though this person might want me locked up for, whatever, I'm not going to hang out with that person, but I don't reciprocate. I don't wish it on them. And, which, don't get me wrong, I'm not weaseling out of this for my audience. 90% of that shit's on the left, in my opinion. But you see it with the groypers. Whenever I get on Comfy.Stream here, that's who I'm going to be dealing with first and foremost because of their war with BPF. It's going to be the fucking groypers. He called it Comfy.Stream to fuck with Cozy.tv. That's what he did. So I'll be dealing with it, but I'm not wishing, to me, the groypers are immature children that think it's fun to giggle about saying the N-word. They're fucking, they're beneath me. I don't give a fuck. It's like, people are ridiculous.
I guess, this is the part of the thing is there's two things I want to say. I'm just trying to keep track in my mind. The first thing is I think a lot of people don't realize how essential propaganda is in a war, right? How important it is to convince a population that you need to go out and die for a cause, right? And in Russia, that propaganda is done by a lot of domestic outlets, propaganda, spokespeople, commentators, and people like Daria Dugin. And so I think a lot of people tried to list, and I'm not justifying her assassination, but I do want to say that a lot of people tried to paint her as if she was innocent, wherein I think if you're pumping up propaganda and lying about a war while trying to continue for that war to, you're pushing on this war of invasion, this war of aggression, you pushed for it, you dehumanize the people who are at the other end of it, and you're actively trying to cover up war crimes, at that point, you are in some way complicit. In some way, you are convincing people at home.
Where do you draw that line? Because you don't think there's propaganda the other way?
Of course, I think there's propaganda the other way. And drawing the line for when somebody's legally, I think, responsible is difficult. We all agree that Joseph Goebbels is responsible in some way for what happened to the Holocaust, even though his main role was, just speaking and organizing the Volksstrom. The Volksstrom was not technically illegal. It was a defense... It was like a civilian. Do you know what the Volksstrom was?
I'm not going to bullshit you and say yes. I think I'm 90%
The Volksstrom was what they would do is they would go to civilians and be like, here's a gun, a really shitty gun. Here's 2 days training. Go fight the Russians. That was what the Volksstrom was, and he organized that, which isn't technically illegal. But the other thing he did was pump out propaganda. do you think he should have been like liable in some way for the Holocaust? In my opinion, absolutely. There's a reason why he went down with the ship. Is because he know if he went to Nuremberg, he probably would have been hung after a long trial.
Yeah. But I mean, you could say the same
so
thing.
like my
It's not
question
the
is like
same-
what
Go ahead.
where's the line? I don't know the answer to that question. Where's the line? But I also know that Daria Dugan is not 100% innocent.
Well, that's right. And that's a fair position because I could say, like, let's say that you're like, well, I think the Iraq war was based on a lie. And I think that there was propaganda both from Iraqis that we ended up siding with and people in the United States at the intel levels and in the Bush administration. And they spread propaganda in this country that justified, invading Iraq or justified the Patriot Act, etc. And that's true, but as Americans, we find it difficult to be like, well, then if some Saddam sympathizer had assassinated, someone in Bush's administration, we'd say, well, they weren't innocent.
Somebody posed me a question actually about this. Somebody said if some Fox News commentator did the same things Daria Dugan did, would you feel sympathy for them if it came to the invasion of Iraq? And my ultimate answer was no, probably not. Because I would have to be consistent in this position, wouldn't I? If there was some Fox News commentator who was like, Iraqis are subhuman, and also was like, all these war crimes that there's extensive evidence for, they're all fake and they were actually done by the Iraqis to make America look bad, and also push for this war. Like at some point I would be like, you advocate for all this violence to be done to others in this horrible, graphic, disgusting war crimey way, but then are angry when this like comes back to bite you in the ass. Like I'm not going to feel too much sympathy in that example as well.
Not feeling sympathy is one thing, right? Which I can't begrudge you for that. But for me, you got to be careful going further than that because I think that all sides use propaganda, right? And so oftentimes the propaganda that we have a problem with is the propaganda that goes against sort of what our default position is. So if you have, if you're looking, and many times, I think the Ukraine war is one of the examples of this. You would disagree. Many times both sides kind of aren't being honest about everything that they're doing and are justified in some of what they're doing. And so there's going to be propaganda on both sides. Like take a war like the Civil War, right? It wasn't as sophisticated as it is now, but I'm sure there was propaganda on both sides, and that propaganda probably helped exacerbate the war. So it's difficult because you could find yourself then in the position where you're like, well, fuck it, I don't have sympathy for anyone. Both sides know they're engaged in I have sympathy for the lowly soldier on the ground, but as far as the people that are pushing the war and engaged in propaganda on both sides, I don't sympathize. Play with fire, you get burned. I don't have a problem with saying you don't have sympathy. That's different than where some people would go. Some people would call for violence against people, quote, spreading propaganda. I think that's too much. I don't think that's what you're suggesting. But it's difficult. I don't know what to say. I mean, we know that in the United States, we're constantly inundated with propaganda, constantly. The stakes aren't usually as high as a war, like in the Ukraine, but, it is what it is. And I find it, a lot of time, and it's, when you think of the stakes, like, let me give you an example. If you're remotely honest, the abortion debate is such a difficult debate because if you look at it in good faith, both sides have a really good point, right? Like, it is true that this could be seen as attacking women's autonomy. And as someone who's liberty-minded, that's a very important issue, right? But if you believe that this is a baby that's being killed, well, now you can see how both sides are so heated because to them, the stakes are ridiculously high on both sides. And so if either side's engaged in propaganda, making up bullshit lies or whatever like that to smear the other side, it's easy to see how they would justify it. And if I'm pro-life, so it's easy to see, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what I'm rambling about.
There's a few things I want to, I'm forgetting the things as the conversation goes on, so I want to make sure that I get to say them. I'm trying to remember. I guess for me, like, I do agree that Ukraine is probably put out propaganda that's not true as well. It's a war, and I expect that from countries, and that's why I don't take everything Ukraine says as face value. And I think it's important to do that because Ukraine is obviously they're a biased party. I think they're rightly biased, but of course they're a biased party. Something I've said a few times is like I think the worst crime that could be done by the Ukrainians is to lose.
Right.
And I mean that in the direction of the Ukrainian government as if they were to cave because I think it is a moral independence war. It is a just war. and I don't feel that genuine about many wars going on today. I don't feel that way about Yemen. I didn't feel that way about Iraq. I didn't feel that way about Afghanistan, even though I thought the NA government was better than the Taliban because it's the fucking Taliban, right? Did you see that scandal about, like, I think it was like the foreign minister's deputy secretary, like kidnapping some like child and like forcing them into like it's so horrific. But like you can't like force a people to fight for a government it doesn't support, you know? And in Ukraine, I think this is like the one just war going on in the world, not from the Russian side, but from the Ukrainian side.
Right.
And from all the conversations I'm having with everyday people, it is just so overwhelmingly like we can't give in, we can't give them our territory, we can't give them our land. I refuse to do it. And so that's why I'm always like the biggest crime Ukraine could ever commit is not winning. Is because I feel like the government needs to do what its people has set them out to do and not cave to political pressures from either Moscow or even the United States if they were to reverse. Even though I think the United States has the moral position currently that could easily change depending upon strategic interests, as we've done before in Syria and in other places in the world. And so that's, like, for me, I personally believe if the United States was to drop all support tomorrow, I'd probably still stay in Ukraine. I'd probably stay here and everything. I'd probably double down my efforts.
Here's where I, like, just real quick, here's where I'm not want to say disagreeing.
Fuck, I'm gonna forget the other things. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I just
go ahead.
I did forget it. Never mind. Continue.
I was just gonna say, like, this situation would be the same in Iraq, right? Like, even though you probably have no love for Saddam Hussein, let's say someone in Iraq that is like, listen, I don't like Saddam, but fuck these invaders, right? The stakes are high. We can't give up to these foreign invaders, right? Anytime that a country is, quote, invaded, from the perspective of those people, this war is different. You know, it's moral because we are being invaded for unjust reasons.
I think I would make one main difference between Ukraine and Iraq. And I don't support the invasion of Iraq, but Saddam Hussein's government and Zelensky's government, I would say, are two totally different beasts. Where Saddam Hussein's government actively engaged in things like genocides against the Kurdish people, actively invaded other countries like Kuwait and Iran, used chemical weapons on countries like Iran, even though we assisted them with intelligence, which allowed them to do it, and that was a terrible thing that the United States did. And of course, Saddam Hussein was a brutal fucking dictator towards his people. And there are things that I disagree with Zelensky. I probably wouldn't have even fucking voted for the guy if I was in the country during the election, to be completely honest. I might have even voted for Poroshenko over Zelensky, even though Poroshenko is pretty corrupt. I do think that the differences are just so stark. And a great example would be Iraq fell in 28 days, in large part due to mass desertions from the Iraqi army and due to a lack of support from the Iraqi people for Saddam. That just didn't happen in Ukraine. The exact opposite happened. And I think that showed that there is a stark difference between the government of Saddam Hussein and the desire of sovereignty there and the situation in Ukraine. I would say that would be a stark difference, is we can just see that reality on the ground.
Yeah, I agree, like, in that level, but I'm saying that difference only becomes based on the sort of likability of the individual that lives there for their government and their leadership. And it is entirely reasonable. I could be wrong about this. My gut feeling is probably most people in the world don't really give a shit about their politics. They just want to be left alone as much as possible. Obviously, it's inevitable that politics will influence your life. But given that, like, if you're a farmer in Iraq and you're just basically like, I don't give a fuck who's in power, I just farm, and that's that. And you see invaders coming to you, you're not thinking of it like, well, Saddam kind of had it coming. He was a bad dude, right? You're just thinking, who are these fucking invaders? To you, at that point, it feels justified. Now, there might be your fellow countrymen that are like, yeah, but we didn't really like this dude anyways. And maybe less of that's happening in Ukraine. I agree with that.
I think there's also a distinct difference between the war in Ukraine and the war in Iraq in the way that there is a lot of talk in Russia about annexing territory. There was never talk about making Iraq a 51st state.
Well, there wasn't talk, but it was basically exploiting their resources and shit, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course. But would you say that there's a difference between annexing territory and regime change?
I agree. Listen, and this is what I don't understand. Like, you're on one side of this. Okay, fine. I don't understand why many of the vocal voices that disagree with you are on the complete, like, Russia good side. Like, I don't think that's a tenable position either. Like,
I think I think a lot of people. I'll be blunt. I think a lot of people are just like, America fucking bad. And therefore, if America's on one side of an issue, they're just going to take the other side of the issue no matter the situation. That a lot of people remember Iraq, remember Afghanistan, remember Vietnam. And so they're just going to think, if America's on the side on a foreign policy issue, it must be evil, it must be terrible. And also, I think there's a lot of money to be made in supporting the Russian government. I think a lot of it's contrarianism that like grabs attention. Like Andrew Tate is somebody who was like who supported the Russians in this invasion. He kind of flip-flopped on it earlier in his commentary on it. Now, does Andrew Tate really know a lot about this invasion? I did a whole video about it. He doesn't. He doesn't know a lot about this invasion. But he's a guy who's known for like getting people's attention through like outrageous statements and like, whoa, he's so like alt media and so fucking like controversial and really shaking it up. And I think a lot of people like do this in part for the money that comes from the intention from when you support the Russians, and you get to feel special by being the alternative option on this issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of truth to that. Like, look, I know the shit that I get, and I'm like 80% on what you're talking about. I'm guilty of that. Like, I don't trust America because of those things. And I think that I have a reason not to trust America. Not the country, but the intelligence apparatus, whatever. But that doesn't mean I make the mistake of assuming everyone on the other side's good people, right? And no matter how you slice it, I could think that the United States and NATO provoked Russia. I do think that. I still don't think it means it's justified to invade Ukraine. I don't. You know,
like I could say Cuba. I could say that the Soviet Union. I once said like 95% of this is the blame on Russia. 5% of this is the blame on NATO and the United States. And we can have a discussion about like where that blame lies in NATO expansionism on another day. But like I believe that the Soviet Union was pressing America's buttons when it tried to put nuclear weapons in Cuba,
sure.
right?
Yep.
And as an American, we would be probably very disturbed by that. But the solution to that was not let's invade Cuba.
I agree. Like that, and that's what I'm saying, right? And like one of the ways I push back on this, I criticize the United States when I feel that we've unjustly invaded countries, even though we were told there were good reasons, like Iraq. So why would I feel differently when it's another country? My default position is still going to be against sort of regime change wars and invasions, and that's what Russia's doing. Now, I could be wrong. Theoretically, evidence could be presented that's like, listen, the United States was, encouraging Ukraine to attack, and you didn't know about this, and this. But I haven't seen any of that evidence, and I'm not going to, cheer on what I see as an invading army because of that. But that doesn't mean that I overlook the obvious propaganda of the United States and that they, in my opinion, wanted this outcome. It's sort of a nuanced position. It's similar to like Ron Paul's position with 9/11, where he was like, listen, we are creating terrorists through our foreign policy. And everyone's like, oh, so you're saying the United States deserved 9/11. He's like, that's not what I'm saying. If you put your foot in a pit of snakes, it's still the snake's fault that they bit you. So but you shouldn't put your foot there, right? Like,
can I say, I want to add some nuance to that position you said about America wanting this. I think America didn't want this initially at all. I think that it was because we offered Zelensky a ride out of the country. That's not something we would do if we wanted to extend a long-term kind of resistance thing in Ukraine and like make this a long kind of struggle. We were planning for that. Most American analysts and European analysts, including me, thought Ukraine wouldn't stand a chance, right? Yeah. That this is the fucking Russian military, right? This is supposed to be the second most powerful military in the world. Turns out it's probably not the second. It's probably maybe the third, if that. They're not as effective as many people thought. They're not like weak or anything. But like the Russian military hasn't been able to get air superiority over Ukraine. Like that's embarrassing. And so I think that once America found out, like, oh shit, Russia's actually a lot weaker than we thought, and they're not taking over the country. Then they're like, I mean, I think they're in the right side of history on this. I think that supporting Ukraine is the right thing to do. I think also this aligns with U.S. strategic interests, and that's an extra motivator for Ukrainian foreign policy planners. American foreign policy planners, when looking at this issue, is that this also aligns with their interests, and so that's another motivator pushing them in this direction. Because it's something that weakens the Russian military.
I agree with you that once they saw how things were going, it made them more support this and want it to keep going, because I think also it allows them to funnel money to interests that they want and things like that. But I do think there was a faction in the United States that's been pushing this inevitable conclusion, right? They thought this is what's so frustrating.
I don't think they wanted the war because no strategic planner would have ever thought that this would have happened. Most Ukrainian strategic planners wouldn't even have thought they would have been this successful.
Well, no, I don't know that the United States gave a fuck if Ukraine stood up to Russia as well as they did or not. I don't think that our government gave two shits. Our intel agencies gave two shits about the people of Ukraine. I still don't think they do, right? They didn't care, right? But they've been, the only thing that makes sense given their decisions in Syria and other places, the constant provocation towards Russia was that they were encouraging Russia to do something. And if that means they took out Ukraine and replaced them, that's still a propaganda victory for the United States to say, well, see, this is what justifies us, keeping, building.
But it would be a strategic loss against Russia, though, because them taking all of Ukraine would mean that's like 44 million people forced under a line. I will say that I think long term it would have bit Russia in the ass, but I don't think American strategic planners might. I think it would have been like 20 years of like car bombings is what I would have. I think it would have been. I think it would have looked like Northern Ireland during the Troubles.
It would be like Afghanistan. It would be like the 70s and early 80s of Afghanistan with Russia, right? Where I think the United States intel agencies learned their lesson in Vietnam. That was like, listen, when you get into a place like that, one of the things we're finding out that
we didn't learn our lesson because we invaded Vietnam, Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, but we learned that you could weaponize that type of situation, right? But I think you're right. On a different level, what you say is, I do think that people are kind of shocked that Russia didn't just completely win quick. I think once it was evident that they weren't so easily going to take over, the United States and the West really started to put money and weapons in the hands of Ukraine, which made it more difficult. But I think more than showing how weak Russia is, I think when you look at that, you look at the United States and Afghanistan and how poorly that withdrawal went. I don't know that any military in the world's ready for this sort of conventional war. I think that all militaries now, we look at them like they were these well-oiled machines in World War II, and even to a lesser degree like Korea and Vietnam. And there really hasn't been conflict of major superpowers fighting other competent. It's almost always insurgent type conflict.
I'll push back on this a little bit, and I've actually changed my position on this because I didn't believe this before. Is that I think America is the most effective killing machine God has ever created.
Yeah, that's true.
I genuinely believe that. When you compare the invasion of Iraq to the invasion of Ukraine, Iraq had a much larger standing army. Iraq actually invaded other countries like Iran and Kuwait. They fought America before. They had experience fighting American firepower. It wasn't like they had no idea what was coming towards them. We took the country out in 28 days. We occupied the whole fucking country. And past that, it was all dealing with, the occupation. But, we won the war super fast. It was the occupation that was the big issue. And, we literally were just, rat hunting for Saddam Hussein so they could hang the dude or do whatever the fuck they wanted to do with him. And so, I think
But you've already given the rationale for why that's different.
I'm giving a rationale why it's different. But I also think that America's competency in its military is much 10 times more effective than the Russian military. The logistical issues, the maintenance issues, the command and control structure that the Russian military has, so unbelievably out of date compared to the United States. Not to mention the levels of corruption are much higher. I think that's part of the reason why I'm so emboldened by the Ukrainian performance, and I think that long term they could win. That's a real possibility. I think this Kherson. Do you know about the Kherson offensive at all? Have you heard any news about it?
No.
So Ukraine has been doing these in private with the American intelligence. They have been working on war games on recapturing their land. And the Ukrainian government had this idea of they were going to do a massive offensive everywhere. Try to take back the Donbass, try to take back Crimea, a fucking crazy ass operation. And American intelligence said, look, that's not a good idea. What you should do is wait. Because the Russians, they're just flooding every recruit they can get. They're training people 30 days and throwing them into the Donbass. And they said, whatever you do, do not do that. Wait and properly train your troops and wait and wait and wait. And that's what they did. And eventually, they started doing war games around Kherson, which is a region in southern Ukraine, which is divided from the rest of the south by the Dnieper River. And they said, this is what you should do. For the next month, just target these bridges. Target every bridge into Kherson, and that's what they did. They used the American HIMARS systems, and they blew up 1 and 2. They started blowing up the pontoon bridges, the Russians did. They completely destroyed the logistics to the point where right now the Russians have to use helicopters to get supplies in, just like the Germans had to use plane drops in Stalingrad, which was never enough.
Right.
And then eventually, after they got enough troops in position, enough artillery in position, they opened up a massive counteroffensive. It was the luck of fools that I didn't blow up. I was in Mykolaiv during the launch of the counteroffensive. The city the offensive was launched from that direction. And they didn't tell us that it was going to happen on the day it did, but I sure heard it. I tell you, and I have footage of this, I swear to God, it was impossible to sleep because the explosions were so constant. It was 50 explosions in 30 seconds. It was, and this was the first time I had ever heard that much bombardment from the Ukrainian side directed towards the Russians. And the front line of the Russian army collapsed. The forward operating positions collapsed. But then the Ukrainians didn't, try to take millions of more territory. They consolidated. They stopped. They took the positions, and now they're digging in, taking on Russian counterattacks, and they're going to move forward. They're using competent leadership here. Much better strategy than I've seen the Russians employ during this war. And this is part of the reason why I think that America is such an effective killing machine, is we don't even necessarily need to be leading the army to be an effective killing machine. We can just give general advice and have a massive effect like we had with the offensive in Kherson.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't speak to, but I try not to listen to much of it. I'm not saying that you're being dishonest. I'm not saying that at all. You're there and you're seeing things that I'm not. But me, the filter that I get coming through here, I don't know what the fuck to believe. I listen to two people. One person's telling me Russia's doing way better than you're being led to believe. And then the next person tells me it's almost over. Russia doesn't have a chance. I'm not there. It's hard for me to filter through the bullshit. I just want peace to happen. That's what I want in the area. So,
is it weird for me to say that I don't believe peace is an end in and of itself?
No, I understand what you mean. For example, if the price of peace was something, if the price of peace
subjugation,
is we take all of your wives, of course not. That that's something.
Yeah.
That's,
what did they call that in ancient times? I know it wasn't real, but they called it something. Like the Lord got to have sex with your wife when you got married.
Prima nocta. Yeah.
Prima nocta. Who made that shit up? Because it's not real.
I don't.
But
think
it was
so,
like
but it's
like
in
an
Braveheart.
old...
That's what
It is
that
in
guy with the
Braveheart,
scar on his face. Don't you love that? Like all those movies from back in the day, it's like the character actors are always the same. It's like that guy with the scar on his face. He was in Sons of Anarchy. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but he's in Braveheart. He's the guy whose wife gets slept with. Then he's like Maximus's assistant in Gladiator. I always think it's funny. Like you watch Gladiator and watch Braveheart. Every minor character's in both of those movies. It's like, oh, you're a big guy with a beard and a cool looking scar on your face. You're fucking in, man. You're gonna swing an axe in this movie.
I like older movies. I'm not a huge fan of newer movies, and I don't know what it is, but I kind of just like the old Western style movie, the kind of like Patton movies where it's just like it's almost like pornography in my opinion, because it's like this is the hero and this is the villain, and it's meant to do nothing but like give you the most positive feelings ever, almost like, oh man, this guy's so evil at the start, and then everything past that is like how great your guys is, or maybe a slightly anti-hero, those being better stories. It's basically just porn, in my opinion. Not porn as in literally porn, but porn for your emotions, as in it's just all gonna be like just hero conquering evil every time. You can always expect how it's gonna end, but I enjoy it. Well,
here's the thing, like I used to make fun of that shit, right? Like, I was the kind of guy growing up that was always even watching wrestling, I always liked the heel. I thought you were a mark if it was like, oh, you always like the faces, I hated all my friends that like Superman. I'm like, Superman's fucking lame. He's got every power, Batman's way cooler. He, like the darker, more mysterious people. But now as I get older, I realize like once everything in entertainment becomes like what's trying to make this deeper point, I think you crave like just getting lost in
heel Sergeant Slaughter was great when he supported Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, that's great.
Did you know they had to give him bodyguards so he didn't get assassinated?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I'll tell you another. This sounds surprising. People are gonna think I'm full of shit.
Can I respond to one thing in chat quick?
Yeah, go for it.
So during my debate with Lawrence Souther, this was brought up for fun one. The comparison was brought up. What about Hassan in the 9/11 comment? And my difference that I distincted there when it came to Daria Dugin was that Hassan took it back. But if somebody was genuinely, and I do mean this, was like 9/11, Lamau, that's great. I'm happy that happened. I would not care if they died in a terror attack. Because
Again,
like if you are going out endorsing terror attacks and then you die in a terror attack, that just sounds like karma, doesn't it? Like I'm not saying you should get killed in a terror attack. I'm just saying it's hard for me to care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm differentiating. Like the way I don't get that mad at anyone. Like I'll give everyone a preemptive pardon of me being upset with you. If you think that I'm a fucking really terrible, horrible person and I die and you're like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm not going to come back and haunt you or anything. Now, if you wish death on me, that's different. But if you're just like, I don't give a fuck, that guy died, he ran his mouth. Okay. It's no, I don't really care. There is a difference in that, right? Like I always like Christopher Hitchens. When Jerry Falwell died, Christopher Hitchens went on national television and said, Jerry Falwell was a man so full of shit, if you gave him an enema, you could have buried him in a matchbox. He said that like 2 hours after he died, which is fucking brutal, and it's a really good line. But, I mean, 2 hours after he died, but Hitchens' point
I think it depends. It always will depend on how terrible the person was. Absolutely. Because, like, nobody cared about Osama bin Laden being celebrated when he died, because he was fucking Osama bin Laden.
Right. Well, except Sam Harris thinks he's better than Trump. I don't know if you heard this. But no, I was going to say something completely unrelated to that. So one of the toughest guys I know is my wife's stepfather. So my stepfather-in-law. And he's a truck driver and he's a mechanic and he grew up on a pig farm. Like just like he's the type of guy that, like, this is a true story about him. When he was young, when he was like 20, he was splitting firewood with a log splitter and he felt a pinch on his finger. When he pulled his glove off, it cut his pinky the whole way off. So he like put it on ice and drove to the doctor and was like, what should I do with this? And they're like, well, we can sew it back on, but it's going to take months of rehabilitation. He's like, fuck that. So he just doesn't have a finger now. Like, that's the type of guy that's
months of rehabilitation.
You want to know what his favorite TV show, like movies in the world are? This guy loves the Christmas Hallmark movies. Like, I mean, loves them. If you go to his house during the holidays, you will be told, shut the fuck up, over and over again, because he has like everyone. There are hundreds of these movies. He has like everyone committed to memory. Like, the Christmas Shoes with Rob Lowe. Like, and it's just funny to see this tough guy, and that's his favorite movies. And it's easy to watch those movies and pick on them. And I've seen an awful lot of them. But the more I think about it, it's like there is something to it, right? Where it's like, it's just this, it's like this artistic, very, like, not very artistic, that's not the word. It's this imagined fantasy of like, it's a world where everyone gets along and the Christmas spirit. And in a similar way to like the old Arnold movies, right? Where it's like the good guy always wins and it's the character's comically a bad guy. There's something likable about that. To me, it's like a yin and a yang. Like, if that's all they were pumping out, you would be like, this is shit. Right? I want something a little deeper. But when everything you watch is deep, it's like sometimes you just want mindless fun. You just want something you could get lost in and be like, and I love that growing up. Every summer you could count on a Stallone movie and an Arnold movie, right? And there wasn't much deep thought going into any of it. In fact, one of my favorite Arnold movies, Last Action Hero, and if you've never seen it, Last Action Hero is just a satire of every Arnold movie. That's what it is. It's just making fun of all of the tropes. Like, there's a cartoon cat that's a police officer. Like, every woman in the film's a supermodel. Like, the police women are wearing, like, bras and panties instead of... Like, it's all making fun of all these tropes of, like, the stereotypical action movie. And it's hilarious, but it's true. Like, I think that it's with everything that there's a pendulum, and I feel that we've gone so far where everything has to have this... And I say almost everything has to have this left-wing political message, but either way, it's a political message. And so I think people I think that's why Top Gun did so well, because it's just like, here's mindless.
I watched it. I wasn't that. I wasn't even that entertained by it. It was okay.
I didn't.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not that entertained by modern fighter jets. I don't know.
You don't like guys that are 5'4" action stars?
No. For me, by the way, somebody asked Aftershock asked in chat, is that what porn is to you, Dylan? Good conquering evil? Absolutely. You're going in there to slay the fucking dragon, my man. Anyway, for me, especially, like, I like this, like, dumb shit right now because of, like, where I'm at, right? Like, I walk out the door and it's, like, depressing as all hell, right. And I would like some just dumb fun.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, that's like, even, I know that it's an era that wrestling connoisseurs kind of make fun of, but, like, the WWF in the era of, like, the early 90s, where it was, like, every bad guy was like a job, like the repo man, the hockey goon, or the forwarder. Here's the iron, and then the good guys were all like comic book heroes, basically, like Hulk Hogan, or Tatanka was the Indian. They were all basically just one dimensional. But it's fun to go back and watch it, I think. I kind of miss that. I miss when it wasn't like this meta, like, oh, that there's politicking going on backstage, and we know that it's fake, and but we know that this guy's, been politicking. He came from this, federation, and blah, 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 blah. There's something about just watching that old shit where it was like you could just get lost, and it's like, this guy waves the American flag. He's the good guy. Here comes this guy. He has a Russian accent. What an asshole. It's like, I don't know. I kind of like watching that, but again, there's a reason the Attitude Era came, because people got tired of it, right? And they wanted Steve Austin, who was the good guy that was really the bad guy. And it was like, oh, now it's the cool thing to like him because he's the anti-hero. But after having Steve Austin long enough, it's like, I don't know, maybe it'd be nice to go back to the Daniel Bryan, who's just the good guy, who's the good guy. So it's like, it's always a pendulum. And I just feel right now, to me, that's what the Kaepernick thing was about. I think people were pissed off more. There were a lot of people pissed off because they saw it as not patriotic. But I think there were a lot of people pissed off because it was just like, you know what? We're willing to take the flyovers. We're willing to take the American flag. But damn it, I just want to watch football. I don't want to think about how shitty the world could be. I just want to watch people hit each other and throw a damn ball around. And now it's like, oh, I got to be reminded every 5 minutes that, bad shit's happening in the inner city and people are starving. And, it's... I don't know. That's the way I looked at it. It's like the average football fans is like, I don't know. I fucking don't care. And I had a good friend of mine from the debate team, flipped the fuck out on me one day because we were watching the Army-Navy college game drinking. And he said to me, he got all drunk. He's like, you care more about this game than this black guy that was shot in Pittsburgh last night. And I was like, yep. I do, at least at this moment, like not in the grand scheme of life, but right now it's 4th down. I do care more about this. And he thought I was a huge asshole, but I was being honest. I'm like, I don't want to think about that horrible shit right now. We could have a conversation about that. There's a time and a place. And people lose sight of that. It's the same people that go to Thanksgiving and they can't just, my aunt hates Trump, so I'm going to start shit with her. It's like, no, she's going to bitch about Trump and I'll go, you're right, he's an asshole. Anyways, pass the stuffing. Because there's a time and a place for it. It's like, you don't have to fucking be, you go crazy if you think about this shit 24/7. If you don't have a sense of humor and you can't, see the bright side of shit, I think you'd literally go fucking insane. If you just came on here and like every day you're like, oh man, fucking people don't have drinking water in Jackson and in Flint, Michigan, look what's happening. And look at these homicides happening in Philly.
Absolutely. That's why, I think when I come into a chat, people named who rhyme with Aftershock shouldn't immediately start pestering me when I'm, just coming in here trying to post emotes. Okay, don't you agree, Rob? Don't you agree?
No, because that's Aftershock's entertaining. He's doing what entertains him. And he also has a point that people need to call out that my side's weak. My side's always like, let's get together.
Everybody believes their side. Everybody believes their side's weak. I believe my side's weak. I believe Biden's weak. And I don't want to get into it, but part of the reason why I liked his speech is because I thought it projected strength, and I like that from a left winger once in a while. And I don't want to get into that right now, but everybody believes that their side is weak. Everybody will say oh, my politicians are too weak. They need to be stronger, be harder. Everybody believes that.
I'm right. Projecting. My side has to talk a big game because what they do is send strongly worded letters. Your side weaponizes the FBI based on a fucking lie that your president candidate came up with. I mean, it's a completely different game. The stakes are different. The only thing that McConnell ever did that was fucking, the only person that they ever say strong's McConnell. And the big thing they brag about is, keeping Merrick Garland off the court, which probably is a good thing because Merrick Garland's insane. But I actually disagreed with it.
Look, wasn't Trump's campaign chant "lock her up"? Lock her up. That's strong. That's strong messaging, ain't it? At the very least, you got to say that's strong messaging.
Oh no! But attacking a politician is different than attacking voters. So that's different. And what I'm saying is,
we're seeing tons of that. Like Ted Cruz, what would he say on that podcast? He's like, "All these baristas." Who just wanted their student loans forgiven. They're lazy. You see a million people coming out with these talking points right now, attacking working class people who have racked up debt because we've told kids for the last fucking 30 years that they have to go to college, and so they do it, and now they can't finance all the debt.
That's different than saying they're domestic terrorists. while at the same time you're pushing for a ministry of truth, while at the same time that you're constant communications with social media places to get people banned for saying things you don't like, while at the same time using your FBI to look into parents that are angry at school
We
boards.
saw so many people coming out saying, "Oh, like Antifa's terrorist," and the left.
Well, they are.
Terrorism
That's
and
different.
Well, that's it's different. Yeah, I got it.
Well, no, Antifa, like that would be like saying if
I
Joe
don't
Biden came
wanna
out
get
and
into this
said,
right now.
if Joe Biden came out and said the Proud
Okay.
Boys are terrorists, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that's different than saying everyone who voted for my opponent. You
I
see
don't
the
think he said
difference?
everybody who voted for my opponent is a terrorist. They didn't say that.
He said everyone who still supports Trump is a MAGA.
He said the
extremist.
MAGA. He said the MAGA movement is a threat to democracy. I believe was
Right.
like the thing he said, which I agree with.
Right. No, it's not. What's the MAGA movement? The people that support Trump.
The MAGA movement. If you to look at Donald Trump, who's pushing election deniers throughout the country to be elected the Secretary of State. If you are somebody who can't accept the results of election, you should not be managing elections.
Why did we allow Democrats to be managing elections for the past?
See, can you just answer the question instead of like what about is it? Because guess what? If you're gonna point me to a Democrat who didn't accept the results of an election, I'll be like, that's actually terrible. I agree with you. They shouldn't do that, or democracy was at stake, or whatever.
Okay,
but
really?
the thing is,
that's what you would do? Because that's what the press secretary is.
the press secretary.
Yes, she denied that. She called Trump illegitimate and said that he stole an election several times. Pierre,
I don't
whatever
know.
her name is.
Okay,
I
if
get
she
the
said
clips
that,
if
it's
you want.
terrible, and
Right.
I don't think she should have done that.
But you wouldn't say so. Then anyone who supports her is a domestic, an extremist that's hurting our democracy, would you?
Would I say everybody who supports her is a domestic terrorist or an extremist? I don't know if
Not
I use the word
terrorist,
extremist, but I certainly would say that anybody, if she was saying that Donald Trump didn't really win in 2016, he was an illegitimate president, I do think that is dangerous for democracy, yes. And I would say that it would be a threat to democracy to push those types of things, absolutely. And I would say that if you are supporting somebody in that type of rhetoric, yes, that is a threat to democracy.
I think that's absurd. I think that it happens all the time. And I think the difference is, right, the difference is with Hillary never accepted the results of the election. She said she did, and this gets to the fundamental difference that I think we're talking about.
She called him to concede.
Right. Well, I'll get to that in a second. You'll say, well, Republicans are strong.
Do we want to do this, or do we both want to go to bed?
Well, I did real quick. It'll take me less than 2 minutes,
Okay.
right? The Republicans talk a big game. Lindsey Graham will say, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter. Trump will say, lock her up. They'll say, do that. But they don't do anything, right? What did Hillary do? Right? Hillary didn't need a bunch of people to go to the Capitol with zip ties and flags because she was like, okay, I'll concoct a story and have the FBI fucking investigate my opponent based on bullshit story. That's it, right? Like all the people at the State Department that were like, Trump messed with our foreign policy. Like when you're in a position of power and the institutions are on your side, you don't need to take a desperate action like people getting upset and having a riot. Right? That's the difference. So yeah, it'd be the equivalent of this. If two coaches feel that, the refs screwed them out in the game and coach one's like, has a press conference afterwards. It's like, fuck this ref.
So
This is bullshit.
Are you saying that Hillary Clinton directed the FBI to put Trump in prison?
No, I'm saying that Hillary Clinton concocted a story that the FBI knew was bullshit but accepted because they didn't like Trump. And they used that as the precursor to attack him for 4 years. Which is
story?
Objectively true.
Which story?
The Russia collusion story. The Steele dossier that was used to spy on Trump through the two-hop rule to get a FISA warrant to spy on Carter Page, everyone he talked to and everyone they talked to, was based on reporting from the primary subsource, who was a man by the name of Igor Dushenko, who is a known Russian spy, who communicated with Clinton's camp, then communicated with Christopher Steele after Clinton's camp paid Fusion GPS to pay Christopher Steele, to feed this to the FBI, who knew that this came from Hillary and Igor Dushenko, but they chose not to verify and spy on Trump anyways. It's 100% confirmed. So she didn't have to say, she could publicly say, yeah, I accept the results of the election. But in the background, she wasn't doing that. In the background, she was saying, I'll get that fucker. And like I was saying, it'd be if one football coach says, the refs cheated, fuck him, blah, 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 blah. This league's bullshit. We should all protest this league. That's bad. But if the other coach says, well,
what did you say there's a difference between, when it comes to a threat to democracy, when it comes to elections, between weaponizing, say, the FBI or weaponizing the Justice Department or weaponizing any institution, between not accepting the results of a democratic election and a peaceful transferal of power?
Yeah, the latter's way worse.
You would say the latter's worse.
Of course. Which one had more of an effect?
Which one has more an effect? Honestly, I would say the latter.
The one I'm talking about. The weaponizing of the FBI.
No, the one No, the
what
before,
effect
the
did
former.
it
I'd
have?
say that one
Okay,
has much more effect.
so
Much
then
more
take
effect.
January
I say that
6th.
has much more damaging effect on our democracy. Absolutely.
How? Right? What was the
I would
effect?
say-
So January 6th.
I think
happened.
when
What
you
was the negative effect on
well,
our
no, it's not
democracy?
just January 6th, right? January 6th in the grand scheme of things is it's kind of like it's like the signal. It's like more like a canary in a coal mine. It's I think a lot of people kind of look at it as like kind of like the end of like the Trump kind of like election misinformation, like that was the disastrous end to it. But I think that was really just like a canary. I think the real danger is people not having faith in our elections, not having faith in our election system, and slowly being like almost just brought to a point where anytime their candidate loses, they just say, fuck it, no, we didn't lose, which is dangerous. It's dangerous no matter who does it. But it's especially dangerous once the same people who are saying, if our person loses, it's fucked. Say if it's like somebody like Laura Loomer or anyone, if those people start getting elected into positions of Secretary of State, that's very dangerous, extremely dangerous, and will only become more dangerous if judges no longer have any say over review of elections and making sure that our election process goes through and that that people get certified.
But it's non-unique. This has been the case for years and years and years. In fact, like every election, major election,
I don't think
someone
we've
loses.
ever had somebody talk about Dominion voting machines and like in the extent that it got to. Or writing up executive orders about the seizure, writing up executive orders about the seizure of voting machines. Like that is something that has never happened in American history.
Okay, listen. 2/3, according to a YouGov poll done on March 4th to 6th, 2018, 2/3 of Democrats believe that Russia changed vote tallies. 2/3.
It's bad. It's terrible. That's
Right.
bad that people believe that.
Right. So the Democrats had it both ways. One, they still had.
But the Democrats
majority-
didn't write up in 2016. Obama didn't come
have
out
to.
and write up an
They didn't
executive
have
order
to.
to seize voting machines to try to steal the election.
It
They
wasn't
didn't try to
just
get
steal
fake
the
electors.
election.
That didn't happen.
Of
They didn't
course-
work with senators to make fake electors. None of that stuff happened.
But they didn't have to. Because they had the FBI on their side that could base.
The FBI didn't make Trump lose in 2020. Trump just lost.
That's not true, right? Like, for example, do you think
The FBI made him lose.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if Russia hacked John Podesta's emails and the DNC's emails and they put a bunch of bullshit propaganda out, do you think that could have influenced the election?
Do I think that could have influenced the action? Yeah.
Okay, and do you think, given that election was very tight in 2016, it could have tipped the scale?
Maybe. It's hard to say, but possibly.
Right, but it could. Okay, now what would happen instead of 17 Russian trolls posting $50,000 worth of ads, that we actually had the FBI leaking to the press, accusing the president of being a spy of Vladimir Putin, while almost every major mainstream media outlet, academic setting, entertainment setting,
The FBI said during the 2020 election that Donald Trump was a spy for Vladimir Putin.
No, it was 4 years of investigations. One investigation.
Well, but you just said that they
they
said to the press, they leaked to the press that he was a spy for Vladimir Putin.
Right, that was the argument they used to be able to spy on him in order to get.
Could I see that where they said that he was a spy for Vladimir Putin? That he said that publicly,
right?
Or that it was leaked, or that they said that period that he was a spy for Vladimir Putin.
What do you think Adam Schiff was saying the whole time?
He was saying Adam Schiff is the FBI.
Evidence. Well, no, but they were leaking selective evidence to Adam Schiff, who was then giving bits and pieces of that to the American people, claiming that he had more evidence that Trump was personally working with Putin and was under the thumb of Putin. He said that for 4 years, right? And
So Adam Schiff, not the FBI, said
they're
that.
leaking. They're leaking to him and to the press tidbits. It's
Okay,
not like
can
the
you
FBI
show me?
came
Can you
up-
show me where they said? Can you show me? Okay, well then this is easier. Then I'll make
Well,
it even
they
easier.
didn't say
Can you show me
that
where
they-
Adam Schiff said that he was a spy for Putin? That he spied for Putin.
He might not have used the word spy, but he said that he was
Okay.
bought and paid for by Vladimir Putin. I mean, you really don't know that?
Well, see, I feel like we're moving the goalposts a little bit. Now, first it was the FBI said that he was a spy for Putin.
No.
Then it was Adam Schiff said he was a spy for Putin. Now it's saying that Donald Trump was. It was just we're moving the goalposts here. Can we both go to bed?
The FBI accused his campaign of being spies for Putin so that they could spy on Trump.
So
And
we're back.
then
We're back to
Democrats-
spies.
But
then.
listen, but then the FBI never publicly came out and said Trump's a spy. They leaked stuff that could be used by Democrats to attack Trump and intimate that he was working for Vladimir Putin. That's what they
Okay.
did. And it's more effective. That if you think that 12 or 17 Russian trolls could have affected the 2016 election, how do you think that affected the 2018?
Hey, 1 second.
2020
Aftershock.
elections?
Suck my nuts. Debate me on my show, okay? Aftershock. You can suck my nuts. Come, gargle my gonads. Come on, debate me on my own show. Okay, Aftershock. I need to set up future content, okay?
Spelled C-O-M-E, I'm hoping. But, all right, I'll let you go, man. Be careful there, seriously. Stay safe. I don't know what your plans are when you're coming back or whatever, but seriously, stay safe so you can come back and I can destroy you in more debates. I don't want anything to happen to you. So, and I hope everyone you're with that's helping you out also stays safe, because it is a serious situation. So,
Yeah, we lost a really cool guy recently, man. I really hope. Yeah. You have a good one, okay?
all right, man, take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right. Yep. All right. I go to address one thing here about, not about Dylan, about where the fuck is that call? Oh, there. I'm still on it with Dylan, I think. Okay. Yeah. So someone was saying about a failure here tonight for Comfy. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's true. The tech has failed tonight for Comfy. I don't know that you could blame Andrew for that. I think that it would be fair to say that maybe it would have been better to have, like, before this stream, bugs worked out. But in the defense of Andrew, I'll say that was sort of the intent of doing this tonight, was to try to get the bugs worked out. But yeah, it didn't work. Hopefully the technology works better. So if you're just joining me, I was supposed to be doing a stream here tonight that was part of a 24-hour stream of Comfy.Stream, but it's not working right now. So keep checking. I'll put that link out, Comfy.Stream. Hopefully if you're up late, you'll be able to see Andrew eventually come on, and maybe some of the other guys, Kino Casino and some of the other people. So, whatever. As far as Dylan, I'm not really getting into the big debate on Ukraine this evening. Aftershock hates Dylan. It's funny. The Ukraine debate we've had before. I'll do it again if he wants. Government chief. He's got a couple tech guys working with him. Government, thank you. But I honestly do not, regardless of what you think, I truly believe that Dylan is in an active war zone, or even if you don't want to call it war, he's in his, the footage is pretty legitimate to me that there's actual fights going on and stuff. I'm not really supporting Ukraine either. I don't support Russia. I think Russia is ultimately in the wrong. I hope Ukraine wins, but I hope that there's peace, and I don't think we should be supporting Ukraine with all of this money and stuff like that. I think it's a huge corrupt money laundering scheme. But anyways, that's what I feel. So I'm gonna go to bed. I got wedding stuff to do tomorrow, so I gave it my go. I tried to stay on as long as possible and stream on Comfy tonight. Doesn't look like it's gonna happen. So you might find me at some point streaming tomorrow. I don't know. I got a wedding, so I don't know that I'll be able to hop on here. I just don't. I'll see if there's someone that I could raid here tonight on Twitch. Probably not. I'm not going to spend too much time looking. Brand for Liberty's on. Here we go. But yeah, so look forward to next time I'm streaming. Might be Monday or Wednesday if you don't catch me tomorrow, and I'll have more details about Comfy then. Hopefully some of this has worked out. So no, I'm not getting remarried. My son, it's my brother-in-law's getting married. My son's the ring bearer. So all right, thanks so much everyone. Sorry that the Comfy stream didn't work out this evening, but hopefully it'll be taken care of by the time I wake up. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate all of your support. As always, have a good one.